members have a chance to read it?
Mr. President, I'd like to amend the agenda.
Okay, what's your amendment?
What I would like to suggest is amended to add a discussion regarding board policies and governance and how to go about putting an item on the agenda. Being new, it's been difficult for me without a written guideline, so to speak, and I am new and don't know all the protocol, but I'd like to put it on for discussion, not any implementation, and I know we've got a full agenda, just so that the board can kind of all contribute to maybe help us protect ourselves and be better.
Yeah, I think, as I mentioned in the communication we had, is no problem. I just feel like at this time, it's just a lot of on the agenda, but it's up to the board. I mean, it's an agenda item that would have to be added. What's the board's desire on this?
I think we should table it till at least next month, so that we're aware of what is gonna be said. Now, no, we are, but I don't think we've got much notice of it. And, let's see how fast we can get through our agenda today and see if there's time left off this. I'm quite sure not everyone has allotted hours. yet,
Sure.
so-
I totally respect that and understand that.
And we will see you next month here, so.
Yeah, and I would be comfortable tabling it until next month.
Okay, what's the desire? Do you guys want to make a motion on the current agenda and just make sure that we put it on the agenda for next board meeting in August, or how would you guys like to proceed?
I would make a motion that we move forward on this month's agenda, as we always have done, and table talking more about it until next month, in the future.
Excuse me, as a
Do we have a
ratepayer,
motion, or do we have some discussion?
as a ratepayer,
Do we
I'd
have
like some
difficulties?
accountability on
Excuse me?
who's making
No, an
decisions.
opportunity to.
Excuse me, it's coming up in a moment.
Okay.
We're right now, we have a motion.
I'll second.
Is there any other, okay, we already have a second. Any more discussion?
The second of the motion is, I'm sorry,
I'm sorry?
to approve the agenda
As is,
as published.
yes.
And then to bring it, if we need to readdress it next month when we've all had a chance. Because I had just received your email yesterday, I think it was actually, so.
Well, if I can clarify, on July 8th, I addressed it verbally. July 14th, I formally requested to be added to the agenda, and it was denied. And I understand that, we've had some communication. I do feel, and it's not about me personally, I feel for the benefit of the board members, more clarification is an important discussion to have. So I'm not comfortable saying, well, if we still need it, it is something that I feel is necessary to consider.
I think so.
I don't disagree with what you're saying, Darcy. For me, I didn't see anything until yesterday on it.
Because I didn't get a response from Mark till Sunday night.
The second response.
The second response allowing me to amend the agenda.
I hope you understand we all have jobs. And
I do.
I'm not trying to delay you.
I taught, this
And I'm
is,
not against it. Like I said, it's not up to me anyhow. It's up to the board.
and this is not a personal thing or about anything that's transpired.
Mhm.
What it has done is make me more aware that we may have certain gaps or things missing that we could make more comprehensive and effective for the whole board and thus for the benefit of everyone.
Would absolutely be. I mean, we've done it, so that's not one way, but we can still move on. So we have a motion second. Do we have a more discussion?
I just want to talk to Darcy's, I know where Darcy's going and what she's struggling with becoming a new board member and knowing where we're all at and how we do things, fully understand where she's at. I know it's a little bit difficult to add something to an agenda. Once you're there, it's easier to pull them off. However, I do support Darcy in the sense I think we need to maybe sit down and have a work session, which is a non-voting type of, not resolutions or budgets, but it's a conversation.
Mhm.
that we can schedule outside of a regular board meeting. It could be an evening meeting, maybe then it works with people's work schedules better. And then have those conversations of where we're at, what we need to do, what some desires are, some directions with the board members,
Total sense.
that's where I would think we should probably go.
I think that's great.
And not be on one of our normal meeting agendas where we're voting, but a work session.
Yeah.
We did quite a bit of those with the city, they were very effective, and you have a frank conversation.
The mic. We'll have to start
Yeah,
using the
because there's
mic.
some guests.
Tanya,
Yeah.
Tanya, could you please, we don't want people over that close to the board, so if you could please stay over there, it'd be great. And then we'll start using the mic so you can hear out there. Okay. We didn't know we had more people, we thought we just had to do. So, push it one time to turn it on. Yeah, no, it's up though, should be working.
Hello? Can you hear me out there?
I mean, I can hear your voice, but not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'll make it automatic.
Hi, Lisa. Lisa,
Can you hear me now?
did you get a chance to sign in out?
I did.
Okay.
I had to come in that way, they
Not
locked me out
everywhere.
there.
Yeah.
Oh, we
No, no,
did it.
it's just maybe people out there.
We were looking nice and tan.
Rodney, can you hear me? Oh,
It's working now.
sounds like loud now.
You don't need to hold it that close. I can hear you from out there.
Okay, we still on the item over there, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign? Okay. Moving down to public comments for items not on the agenda. And what I'd like to do today is, because we have quite a few people, get a 3-minute maximum time limit. And since last time the time sharing derailed us quite for a while, we'd like to make sure that there's no time sharing today, just like other boards have done in the past. So with that, we'd like to open it to the public for any kind of public comments that are not on the agenda.
So, Mary Flowers, Citizens for a Better Flathead. Mary Flowers, Citizens for a Better Flathead. I'm going to request clarification because on your board agenda today, you do have approval of bylaws, and that's contradictory to the motion you just passed. So I would hope that would be tabled and not moved on, as well as your rate study, but I believe someone else is going to speak to that. I'm going to pass out here when I finish a set of packets. You know that last month we presented you a demand letter regarding the annexation that we feel is illegal of the Flathead Lake Club. We have expanded the factual basis for that, and I'm going to present you copies of both of those letters today. We've submitted them to DEQ so that they are also aware of our complaint. And in this packet is also some comments that I'll make on the rate study, which will be in a little bit on the agenda. Let's see, we also want to let you know that we are working with the ratepayers in the district to file a formal complaint with the county commissioners under a House bill that was passed in 2023 that requires, if the board is not following proper procedures, that the ratepayers can file a request for the county attorney to review that. We've gotten more than enough signatures for that, and we will be submitting that to the county commissioners. If that petition is approved, it would require that this board goes through training with the local government commission on how to properly follow procedures for boards, which we feel are not being adequately addressed currently. So I'm going to hand this back to you, and then I'm going to pass these out. Let's see.
Lakeside. We, the undersigned, ask the Board of Directors of the Lakeside County Water and Sewer District to table any decisions, discussion, or action on the ordinance number 11-2 or board bylaws, including resolution 26-3, continuing ordinance number 11-2 as the director's rule and regulations, and that the rate study presentation by the district engineer Robert Pecha, and associates, both on the agenda for the board's July 21st, 2026 meeting until the public workshop on these topics can be held with ratepayers, including at or after 6 p.m. to allow taxpayers to attend.
And there are 106 signatures on there.
Thank you. Are there any other public
Yep.
comment?
So this is just off the cuff.
Can you state your name and address, please?
Karen Dion, and I live at 151 Wolf Lane. Been here 30 years in this community, never come to a meeting before, never felt the need to. Felt like I could trust our representatives. I have some reason to doubt that these days, and I feel like I'd like some accountability. Where's our money going? Why are our rates being doubled and tripled with these flat rates, and we're funding this project, this huge project that's going to dump into our lake? And Dr. Howard did the whole presentation of what that's going to do at our lake. You know that this is not sufficient. This is not a sufficient system for what you're taking on. And I feel as a ratepayer, like I just became aware of this a year ago. Where has this all been? You guys have not been transparent. And I'm pissed, actually. So I'd like some accountability in whatever form that takes, whether that's legal or ethical or moral. And it should be all three of those. Mark, I've known you for 30 years. I trusted you.
I do.
And I feel like you've thrown our community under the bus, frankly.
Not me as a board.
So,
I'm not the whole board.
I'm just saying it how it is.
Yeah,
I
thank
have
you.
nothing to lose.
Let's keep the person.
So I'm just saying what I see. That's why I'm here today. So I back up the legal process. I'm going to stand behind it 100%, and I'll be a voice to advocate for the well-being of our community and the well-being of our lake.
I get it. Thank you. Are there any other public comments? Okay, if there's none, moving on to the next item. We were, last month, we got a letter and some additional information from Mary Flower, sorry.
That's all right.
And we had communicated in the meantime, it was mostly Rodney with our legal counsel, and they suggested that we read this letter basically to you, to the public that had requested those informations. Thank you to the members of the public and to City of Butterfly and putting your concerns in writing. The board recognizes the importance of annexation, capacity, water rights, and ratepayer protections, and we appreciate your engagement. The letter includes several legal and factual claims. We will not debate those issues from the platform today. Instead, the responsible next step is to ensure the board has the full record, receives proper legal review, and confirms the facts supporting any action already taken or proposed. To be clear, the board's priorities are to comply with Montana law, protect current customers, maintain system reliability, and preserve public confidence in the district's decision. In other words, you're going to get an answer on that. We have legal counsel help us on that to answer your questions.
And I would just correct, it's not from me personally, it's from Citizens for a Better Flathead.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. Did any of the board members have any items they would like to pull out or any questions on it? Or if not, then if anybody wants to make a motion, that'd be great.
To me, there's nothing to pull out.
Okay.
So you want a motion to accept it as it is?
Yeah.
I so move.
Okay, we have a motion, do we have a second?
I have a second to accept consent agenda as published.
Okay. A motion and a second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you.
When you're if you're individually talking, can you pass the mic around, just so people that are out there, yeah.
Sorry.
You might have to make sure it's on, it's one click to turn it on. Just one click.
Next on the agenda is old business, FY '27 draft budget. Rodney, I think you have been coming first.
So if you remember from last meeting, the agenda that was posted online with the budget happened to be the wrong budget, and so we tabled the agenda. I presented you the budget, the correct budget that day, but it was posted wrong online. And so we tabled that, and if there were any amendments, I would have done it between then and now. We did not amend the budget. The budget is still the same budget that was presented at last board meeting. We did correct the dates on a couple of items there that were called out. And other than that, it's the same agenda. And if you'd like to see it again, go through it. If you have comments on it, questions on it, we can take that at this time. Otherwise, you would make a motion to accept the budget after public comment.
Are there any other discussions on the board or any other questions for Rodney or the staff? If not, we can open it to the public for public comment.
I have a hard time getting a mic and trying to look at the budget on my. I am Kate Droll, 501 Archery Road.
We have also.
No, it's fine. I'll
Okay.
just wing it based off of what I wrote down. So one of the things that was on the fiscal year 27 draft budget was the revenue from the plant, and I believe that's $875,000. It's the same number on the budget 3 years running, and it's the largest revenue line. The actual receipts last year came in at $178,920, which is 20% of what was budgeted. And in 23 and 24, or 23, the 2 years prior to that, you're looking at like 127,000 and 142,000, which doesn't get close to the 875,000 in revenue that's supposed to be coming in. The fiscal year 27 budget proposes that same $875,000 figure again, unchanged. And so I'm wondering, since this revenue source has never generated near that, and any year on record, why is that number still plugged into the budget as what the projected revenue is going to be? The other thing I noticed was there is about a little over $6 million in cash reserve in the sewer fund. Has the district evaluated funding any capital work on any of the projected projects coming in, using any of that reserve before taking on new bond debt?
Thank you. You want to make any comment on it? Or not at this time? Does the board have any other discussion or any other public comments? But
Thank you. I want to support the comments that Kate just made to you. This is Mary Flowers, Citizens for a Better Flathead. I have concern that there's not been any workshop on this budget, and that it's inappropriate for the board, with absolutely no comments so far, but maybe there will be some discussion here, to really show that you have studied this, looked at the factors that Kate has raised, for example, and really queried to make sure that this board clearly understands what this budget is and how this budget that you are adopting impacts ratepayers. And I think that's one of the reasons this needs to be tabled today. There hasn't been any discussion of the ties between this and what the budget you're adopting implicates for the rate study and the ratepayers. I too am concerned that there are ways that you are allocating funds that, particularly for the, I don't understand why you're breaking down your state loans into 3 different categories, why you're looking at doing a special assessment rather than a bond. All of those things should be before the public, before you go into adopting a budget, so that we can really understand the whole comprehensive view of what this board is obligating these ratepayers to. Our initial study, and I'll talk about this more during the rate study comments, is that a very small group of ratepayers is being, because of various resolutions that you've adopted over the last few years, is being kind of on their shoulders an unfair proportion of the costs going forward for this expansion are going to fall on a very few small group of ratepayers. It's one thing when you have a city like Kalispell with thousands of residents, you build a new plant, you spread that across thousands of residents, it's something they can reasonably afford. We are concerned that because of the small size of your district, you're not giving adequate time to present this to your ratepayers so they really understand the implications of what is being proposed. Thank you.
Are there any other comments?
I forgot one of my comments. Can I
Okay.
speak again?
Yeah. I don't know, is somebody still in the hall outside, or is everybody in here?
The other comment is a follow-up, because at the last meeting, there was discussion about new positions that were opening up, and I did notice then there is an increase in the payroll for that. I think the total was about $70,000 in base wages, plus there's benefits and whatnot. And then my, I guess, real question is whether those ongoing costs were factored into the district's long-term financial plan, because they are reducing the cash available while the SRF loan is also increasing in demand. And has that been considered?
Thank you. Are there any additional comments regarding the budget FY27? If not, board, what would you like to do?
I just would like to ask a question. Is
Can you
a,
use a microphone?
sure, not used to that. Is it possible to do a study session so that we better understand, and possibly everyone else understands they knew? I too share some questions, so I just want to ask the board how they feel about that. If they all have a firm understanding, then that's my question to the board for discussion.
I mean, from my angle, we have an FY27, it started in July. I'm not sure legally if we can wait any longer to approve the budget, if you're working under.
We're working under that budget already, so, because we agreed to do that, to work under that budget, so we're working under it. It's just, so as far as payroll goes, that's the primary thing, right? We had the 3.5% COLA, so we had the 3.5% COLA, so we agreed to go ahead and accept the budget, but table it, to see if there were gonna be any amendments to this month. Again, I mean, this is, you've seen the close of last fiscal year, and the increase to this fiscal year is primarily over, a few months, obviously, and what's going on with the project and how the project is impacting the budget with overhead. We've talked about that in the talking points with the budget, if you remember. Increased electricity, increased with the headworks and the septic receiving station finishing up. Also lift station 10 with all the new building and the increase there. Things we haven't paid before, which is natural gas to the headworks, so there's heat, there's LP out there. So there's a lot of different things overhead-wise that are impacting this budget. And then increased wages for an increased position. and so on. So those are the things that were called out, that I called out in the talking points of the budget, that you as a board have had the time to look at and ask me questions in between and discuss at the last board meeting. So, but if you can choose to, there's no problem. We're gonna continue to operate every day, whether we choose to accept it or not today. So.
And that clarifies. Rodney, can you just address, for my benefit, being new, the 875,000 budget and the actual revenue from the plant? There's such a discrepancy.
Let me get, the wrong one. Which one is it, Rebecca?
What? Oh, this, sorry, I got it.
You got it?
This one. This?
Yeah, that's good. So let's see. So you're talking about sewer service revenue here on the top line?
No, the bottom line of that group, the revenue from the plant.
Oh, right, the bottom line.
Oh, plant investment
Yeah.
fees, you're saying?
Oh.
Those are plant
Okay,
investment
so
fees,
those
yeah.
are plant
Okay.
investment fees, those are not.
Not revenue.
Okay,
Revenue
these,
from-
where is
is
the
it-
revenue from?
So, yeah, so that's the 875 million. So it wasn't making quite sense when, you know, because Kate was using terminology that I didn't know, which is okay, I don't expect that. It's just that when she was saying 875, I knew it wasn't 875 for the revenue, service revenue. That's on the top line. So the sewer service revenue is the ratepayers, that's the monthly bills that come in. So you can see in 25-26, the budget was 904. The current budget we were operating under is $800,000. And the preliminary budget, the one that you're looking to approve today, is $1,181,000. And so the revenue from plant investment fees, the reason it's the same for only 2 years running, not 3, are expected plant investment fees that did not get paid in last fiscal year, that will get paid in this fiscal year.
Thank you so much for taking time,
Yeah.
I was confused.
Yeah, I expect to answer your questions. Okay, so that's part, that's what I.
Keep asking.
Did that answer your question?
It did, thank
Okay.
you.
Any other discussion on the board, any other questions?
Oh, it works, yeah. I don't have any questions, I just wanted to read something from the meeting minutes of the last meeting, because there was comments that we haven't talked about this or had a work session. The meeting minutes say fiscal 27 draft budget. General Manager Olson presented the fiscal FY 27 draft budget to the board, highlighting significant budget items, the proposed capital improvement plan, and the revenue versus expense report. During the review, it was determined that incorrect draft budget had been included in the board packet distributed prior to the meeting. The board reviewed the correct FY 27 draft budget as presented. Public comment, audio link, including remarks from 4 individuals. Next is public comment. After further discussion and recognizing that the draft budget included in the agenda packet was not the version, excuse me, was not the version presented to the board, Director Klusner made a motion to preliminary approve the FY 27 draft budget as presented during the meeting, with the correct version of the budget to be included in the July board packet for final approval. Director Klusner seconded the motion. Motion carried. That tells me we talked about it, and we had a conversation, we had a discussion as a board, like a work session. So I just wanted to make that public again, that we have talked about this. It was presented to us. It's not a brand new thing today. So, and I do believe there are some things out there where we have to approve budgets by a certain date, by state and county rules and laws. So that's my comment.
Thank budget, or I guess whatever you'd like to do.
I make a motion that we approve the FY '27 budget. No, I make a motion that we approve the FY '27 budget as presented today.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Not all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Thank you. Moving down to new business, rate study presentation by District Engineer Robert Pesha and Associates. Gonna set up.
Yeah, so I'd like to just introduce the topic to the rate payers and the guests and the board, that this is RPA Engineering. They're the district engineers that have been working with us on this project since it started back in 21. It's been a long time ago. It's been a moving target, a lot of twists and turns and changes in this project, as we all know. So it's been a long time coming. You know, I've always said we needed to get to a point where we can have some concrete construction estimates and things like that. And in between there's been things that have slowed us down from getting to that point, and also changes in the project. Some of those things we've added, some of those things were added due to county regulation and things like that. The solids handling portion of the project. So it feels like it's been a long time to get here, but we have been at other meetings. We have put out and posted that there would be rate increases in the future, and you know, we closed some of the gap with our initial rate increase that we did a year ago, which was $30. Part of that was just catching up. It really had nothing to do with this project. You know, so a lot of that $30 was because of inflation and things that have gone on in the market in general, and so some of it was catch up operationally. So with today, I will preface this presentation that this is, and they'll talk more about that, but this is worst case scenario. We do have applications out there that we feel really confident about that are submitted to Congress for more money towards this project. I think in total another $13 million potential that is out there and that has been submitted to committee, but we have to wait till fall to find that out. It could get reduced, it could get the whole thing, we could get none of it. So we're proposing this as worst case scenario today so that anything better is going to look good. With that, I'll give it to Brad Koenig from RPA. He's the leader of the team.
Yeah, my name is Brad Koenig. I'm with RPA. I think most of you know me, but I'm the project manager. Been working on this with Rodney and your board since the project's inception. I'm just going to give a quick kind of recap of where we are, update a little bit, kind of frame things a bit here. So the first part of the project, which is the headworks and the septic receiving facility, that will be done in September, probably be operational in early October. So we're kind of ready to go on to the next phase. As a reminder, we selected Swank Enterprises as our general contractor construction manager. And so they're on board and have been working with us to plan the next parts of the project. We have approval to move forward with the ground improvements part of it. So that would be one of the next things. So the next steps is to implement a funding strategy so we can move forward with a few different things. The first thing would be these ground improvements. And as a reminder, those are some of the things that stabilize the soil. You drive those down well into the different layers of the soil, and that kind of works as kind of like rebar through concrete. It makes the soil stronger, so if there's an earthquake or something of that nature, it stabilizes the soil so things don't sink, just don't move. And so that was something that was recommended by the geotech, and so that's the first part to get everything ready. There's also some earthwork that goes with that. They build what's called a transfer pad, where those ground improvements transfer the load to the earth, which the footings sit on. So it's kind of a one-step process. You do all of this together, then they can go in and build the structure. So that would be the next thing that would happen, and we've received bids for that. We got really favorable bids from the subcontractors that perform that work, and now we're ready to launch forward with that. The other thing that we're ready to move forward with is a purchase of all of the equipment, the process equipment. Last Christmas, January 1st, around that time frame, we selected Aqua Aerobics for the SBR equipment, the secondary process equipment. And we've been going back and forth with them, getting some pricing, getting all the fine details worked out. Now we have kind of a big list of the equipment that's needed as part of that procurement. And we're ready to get that ordered so that it's here in time and construction doesn't have to slow, and we can get those things incorporated into the work. And also all the information necessary to engineering for those. So those are some of the things that we're ready for. We're also going to submit all the concrete basins in July, the end of July, early August, so that DEQ can take a look at those. But that will be all the concrete tankage, all the concrete work, and that will keep people busy through kind of a lot of, well, who knows how the winter will go, but if we have a winter like we did last winter, they could stay busy all winter with it. If we have maybe a more normal winter, they would work October, November, maybe into December, and then have a winter shut down and then start again in the spring. So that's one of the next steps that will move forward as well. So I guess today we're ready to kind of present some rates, possible rates, kind of a funding strategy that goes along with that. We've had some great meetings and discussions with Tim and Mark. We had kind of a big workshop to talk through all of those sorts of things, batted around a lot of ideas, and we've come up with kind of the draft presentation here that Kayla is going to present. This project does include some tertiary treatment. That's something that isn't absolutely necessary, but it's a membrane reactor that all the water that would go into the ground infiltration ponds would go through this, and it would also go through some packed columns that would hold carbon and for PFAS removal, microplastics, and pharmaceutical removal. So that's included with the project. We've also included the cost to dry the solids to 18 to 20%, which is something that the county would like us to do, or is requiring us to do, and we've added those costs into the project here, and that's included. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Kayla. She has been working hard on these numbers and the draft report, and she'll take it from here.
And real quick, this presentation, this portion of the presentation is, we're presenting this to you as a board. So this can be a two-way conversation. If you have things, questions that come up during the presentation, I'm sure Kayla would be happy to communicate, go to, answer questions, talk back and forth. Once that ends, then it will be time for public comment. So this is the time for the board, and you're obviously going to hear the presentation, but it's not a time for questions to interact with the engineers. So you'll get to hear their interaction and then make your public comments after that. So, go ahead.
Okay, as Brad said, my name is Kayla Doan. I'm with Robert Petch and Associates, and I've been working on the funding and the rates portion of this project for quite some time now. So I'll just give you an overview of the most recent findings we have, and as Rodney mentioned, I guess this is probably a good time as we have more concrete numbers and kind of an idea of how the project's going. So.
You ready for the next slide?
Next slide.
Sounds good.
So I've got a few overview slides here. One, they're a little bare bones, but wastewater rates, what they include. So it's just system operation and maintenance expenses. So it's just a list of all the things that you've seen in that fiscal year 27 budget. It includes labor expenses, administrative expenses, operating reserves, electricity, you name it. It's just all those insurance, all those types of premiums, all those things. And then the second item that would be included in wastewater rates is the debt service expenses. So any loan payments through SRF or any program of any type, but those are the main components that we will show in these rates. Why are wastewater rates increasing? So there's a few items or a few reasons why these rates are increasing. The main ones, I guess, would be replacing aging wastewater system infrastructure to meet regulatory compliance, enhance treatment technology, improve system capacity, and then increase wastewater service sustainability, among other things, but those are the primary ones. So here's just a breakdown of the annual Lakeside County Water and Sewer District wastewater expenses for fiscal year '28. So what I've done here, this first item, and the reason I've selected fiscal year '28 is fiscal year '28 is when the phase 2 of this plant will be completed and operational. So I'm projecting out what we anticipate the O&M for this entire treatment system and collection system to be once all the projects are complete. So the existing O&M expenses, what that includes is the expenses for this fiscal year 27 budget that you guys saw. I've taken the expenses portion, which what that is there is what's it called, depreciation included in the budget. So that would be the bottom line budget of the sewer expenses minus the depreciation. That's kind of an accounting number for the wastewater treatment system. And then I took that and added 5% to it to get to the 2028 existing O&M expense. So that's where that $824,445 comes from. If you have any questions about this or you want like detailed stuff, we can go into detail there, so just feel free to stop me if you need. Collection system O&M, so that would be in like all of the lift stations to convey wastewater from here in Lakeside all the way to 7 miles north to the treatment facility. So increasing horsepower for those pump stations, pumps, all of those kind of items. So that we have that approximated at $45,000. Again, this is an approximation as we don't know exactly what that will be. So we just feel that that's a pretty safe estimate. The headworks O&M, the way I have figured this, both the headworks O&M and the secondary treatment and solids handling O&M, which are the next two items, I took the plans that we have completed for this headworks O&M project, looked at all of the equipment that is included in that project, the horsepowers of the pumps, the size of the heaters, all those components that consume energy, listed them out, made assumptions of how many hours per day, which then goes to each week and each year that those pieces of equipment would be operating, and then apply a power cost to those kilowatt hours and come up with the estimated O&M cost. Rodney did include about $25,000 worth of O&M in this fiscal year 27 budget for some of the increased electricity costs at the headworks, natural gas, those kind of things. So this is what we assume upon full build out, and when we're receiving our full amount of wastewater, we'd have about an additional $43,415 in O&M expenses associated with the headworks. Then the secondary treatment and solids handling O&M, $443,284 is what we are assuming that entire process will cost to operate. One portion that is a large amount here, there's about $120,000 worth of tipping fees to dispose of solids that are generated with the treatment process at the landfill, the Flathead County landfill. And that also includes, as Brad had mentioned, there are some increased costs to dewater the sludge generated from the secondary treatment process to the level that the county will be requiring. So that was quite an increase in power and processes for us to get it to that 18% solids.
And real quick, real quick, just to add to that, talking about, the congressional funding that we're looking for and so on to go along with that solids handling, we are still going to work with the county and see if there's ways, it's their law, their rules that they changed for the landfill after the fact. When we first met with the county on solids handling, it was 12%. And so now, getting closer, that's changed for them, and it's no fault of their own, and it's just the industry as a whole. It's not just Flathead County, it's nationwide. So but because we're taking septage, which is countywide, and there's solids to be handled through that. We are gonna work with the county and see if we can work out some type of, you know, either a reduced tipping fee, something to help us with that portion of the solids handling. So that could be something that could still come down the pipe to help things on that end of it.
That's correct. And then similarly to the Headworks O&M, how I came up with that. So the secondary treatment process to determine all of those O&M things or costs, you know, listed out all of the pumps, every piece of equipment that would be, you know, that would be required for the process. So additionally, we have like a dump truck, a person to haul the solids back and forth to the landfill, all those items that maybe you wouldn't think of when you're just thinking of a secondary process treatment, and the O&M that would be associated with that. So that is what that $443,000 includes. The next item is the wastewater treatment facility Phase 1 SRF loan debt service. So for Phase 1, the district took out a $1,060,000 SRF loan. Not all of that loan has been used at this exact point in time, and you only actually pay for what you have spent for that loan. So when all of that $1,060,000 has been spent on Phase 1 of this project, the total loan payment plus 10%, which is like the reserve, the debt reserve that has to be collected, that will be $74,441 per year. And then that last bullet is the potential wastewater treatment facility Phase 2 loan debt payment of $1,044,559. And that includes the entire Phase 2 loan amount. There would be a potential for 3 different loans, and I will explain those here just a little on, I think it's maybe the next slide I'll show you. We have I guess it might be the next
That
one.
one, or which one do you need?
I think it's actually one more. Can you just flip?
That one?
There you go. Oh, no, sorry. It was that last one. So the total debt service would be right at that $1 million, but I'll kind of explain how it's broken out here. So this sheet is the wastewater treatment facility improvements project Phase 2 preliminary budget. So this is, like Rodney had mentioned, we're kind of giving you a snapshot of the worst case scenario of what what we anticipate the loan looking like if the bids come back high or we don't get any additional funding or anything of that sort. So this top project, or this top portion of this table, it lists out the estimated Phase 2 project expenses. So we've got administrative expenses right around $1 million, engineering design $2.4 million, engineering construction oversight would be $2.1 million, public outreach $30,000, which the district has a firm hired for that portion of services. And then the construction cost we've got right now estimated at $33.9 million, and then contingency at $1.9 million. So in total, the entire project cost we've got at $41,241,769. And as I had mentioned, this is just an estimate that we believe is worst case scenario. If we, if it doesn't cost $2.4 million to design it, then the district doesn't have to pay $2.46 million. If it, it costs $2 million, then the budget goes down that much. And same with contingency. I know in Phase 1 we had, it's a large project. It's standard to have a large amount of contingency, and I know on Phase 1 we haven't even used but a small portion of it, and there is potential for that on this project. So that $1.9 million, there's potential that we may not use all of it, or we may only use a small portion of it. So the bottom half of this table gives kind of a snapshot of what we have for Phase 2 funding. So the EC forgiveness grant, that's a $1 million grant that we have secured and we will receive. We have Flathead County funds allocated for this second phase of the project at $3.5 million. We have SRF forgiveness, which is a rollover from Phase 1. So we have currently on this Phase 1 project, I said it was a $1,060,000 loan. We have not spent all of that in Phase 1, so there is a small amount $271,903 that will be rolled over from the Phase 1 project of the SRF loan to this Phase 2 project. Similarly, there was SRF, when they fund projects through an SRF loan, it's very common to receive a portion forgiven, so anywhere from, I mean, it ranges depending on the year, the funding cycle, what funds they have available. The SRF forgiveness, which is basically just a grant, it ranges from, I don't know, a couple $100,000 up to $1 million. And we did receive from some forgiveness for that Phase 1, along with that Phase 1 loan. And we have $339,946 remaining from the Phase 1 forgiveness, and we are able to roll that into this Phase 2 project. So that is also a credit to the Phase 2 project. Then the next line would be the WMCC via Flathead County grant, $910,000. That is a grant that's already been secured, and we already have funds available to use for this Phase 2 project. Brad, if you, maybe can you, the WMCC, can you maybe just, what?
Yeah, that's being used for engineering design. It has to specifically be used for design. And it's through the EPA, but it's administered by DNRC, and it's something that Flathead County got and transferred to the district through us, so. Yeah.
Just to clear up what the WMCC stands for. So then in this preliminary budget here that I'm showing, I've got district cash, plant investment fees, and federal funds, which are also, would be considered grant funds, free, no need to pay back. I've got those all zeroed out in this budget just to show you what the worst case scenario is. There is potential that the district may have cash available, you know, at some time to add to this project or to pay for a portion of this project. But this is just to provide you with worst case scenario what something the budget would look like. So same with plant investment fees, with the Discovery Group for the Flathead Lake Club, set to pay plant investment fees and latecomer fees, which you guys saw that figure included in fiscal year 27. There is a substantial amount that they would be paying to the district, and some of those funds could be used to help or to add to this budget to reduce the Phase 2 loan. And then federal funds, as Rodney had mentioned earlier, there are, the district has applied for it seems quite promising, Rodney feels, with Sheehy and Zinke. In total, if we received all of that funding that we've applied for, we would receive another $13 million in grant funds, so no need to pay back. So that would be a very helpful amount of money. We should figure out if we receive those funds in October. So then we would know what things look like there. The next item is the assessment bond. So in working with Tim and Mark a while back, I can't remember when we were here last, but we talked about an assessment bond to help pay for a portion of this project. The way the assessment works, I have a sheet on it in just a few slides here, but it basically distributes whatever this amount, this $14.7 million, it is applied to or distributed across all of the lot, tract, or parcel, so all of the parcels within the Lakeside County Water and Sewer District boundary. So basically this assessment bond would be paid for by anybody within the district that may benefit from the wastewater treatment facility.
Also, just to add to this assessment bond, as far as people involved in this, we've had pretty extensive conversations with our bond counsel out of Missoula, along with, again, Mark and Tim came, a few weeks ago, and we presented this to them for their opinions and to talk through things like this, a subcommittee type thing of the board. But we've been talking to bond counsel about the best ways to go about this. Another reason for the assessment bond potentially up front is to, instead of the loans up front, is to give us time to see if we get those congressional funds, so that we don't go out and borrow money based, on that, and then all of a sudden we get the funds and the rates are still the rate, right? So we want to be able to kind of linger things out a bit before we go and take out loans, because we may not need to take out very many loans when we get to the end. If construction bids come in less than expected, we get congressional funding, there's just a lot of other little things that can go on in that time period, so.
Yeah, and I guess to touch on what Rodney just said a little bit too, so the way that this second phase of the project is going with the general contractor manager, so like right now the ground improvements, we open bids for that, so we can pay for the project as we go, basically. We don't have to have all these funds for the project to start the project. So we can, if we have the available funds right now, say to pay for the ground improvements portion, and then once that portion come November or, this fall, we need more funds to continue paying for construction, then we can pay for, we could take out a smaller loan to get us a little farther down the road. And then the thought is kind of this assessment bond would be first of the year, January time. So then those funds would be available to get us through that much more construction. And then by the time next spring-ish rolls around, we'd know exactly like Rodney said, we'd know what type of grants we're getting, we'd know what type of loans we need to take out, and maybe we wouldn't have to take out, such a large loan at the very end to finish up construction. So that is kind of the timing of what we are thinking with these funding items here.
One thing I would just add too is that, we would have bids from the contractor and know exactly what that would be. Maybe it would be better than our guess, maybe it would be a little bit more, but we know exactly what number we needed. So we wouldn't have to borrow and just be guessing. We would have exactly the right numbers at that time. So it's another benefit of spreading things out a little bit.
So then the next item is the SRF Forgiveness Phase 2 grant. So this is $700,000 is just an estimate we've thrown in here of what we're guessing we might receive when we close our first SRF loan for this Phase 2 project. Like I said, given the SRF program right now, it's not as, it's a little tighter money-wise than it has been in the past, so the amount of forgiveness isn't certain of what we'd be receiving, but we feel like $700,000 is probably a good representation of what we may receive. Then the SRF, as you can see, we've got SRF Loan 1, Loan 2, and Loan 3, and in total, they make up the $19.5 million, or whatever I had shown on that previous slide. So the reason we have them broken into three different loans, there's a couple reasons. So this Loan 1, we'd be calling, that Loan 1 is for $1 million, and that would be an engineering loan to pay for engineering expenses. And the reason we would do that is if we take out $1 million engineering loan, it makes it so that we don't have to follow the BABA requirements, the Buy America, Build America, which increase construction costs quite substantially. And it just means we have to abide by the AIS standards, American Iron and Steel. I don't know that anybody is entirely certain why that is, or what makes that rule effective, but it's just a known thing. So that is the purpose of taking out a $1 million engineering loan, and that we would plan to take out this fall, September, October time. Similarly with that Loan 2, for $7.5 million, we'd also be taking that out around the same time. And that would pay, $7.5 million would be for construction costs. And collectively, that $1 million and $7.5 million, if we close on both of those loans this fall to use for engineering and construction, we would not need to implement a rate increase to cover the debt service for those two loans. The way the rates sit, we have enough income with our rate that we would not need to increase rates for those two loans. And then the third loan, the way we have it shown for $11.45 million, that would be for the very end of construction. So as I have said, this is worst-case scenario. So if we do receive $13 million in grant funds from Zinke and Sheehy, maybe we only receive 8, 10 million, who knows? Maybe we don't receive anything, so it might look like this. But if we do receive grant funds from the feds, it would decrease this final loan, this number 3 loan for the Phase 2 project. So those are all of the funding line items, and they also tally up to the project cost of $41,421,769. Does anybody have any questions on that?
So you mentioned the loan 1 and 2 would not require an increase in rate pay.
Yep.
So loan 3 would increase?
Yes, so loan 3, which we project that we need to close that loan, which means we would have to have rates in place to cover that loan debt service. That would be like next spring, next summer, that time frame at the end of the project. So yes, that $11.5 million, that would require a rate increase to take that loan out.
Do you know what that number?
I do.
Roughly.
It's coming up
It's
in
coming
another
up.
slide, but I do have a look at what that would be.
So just to clarify, of that $41 million, how much of that's,
The board is currently closed, it's closed right now. Public comments is gonna be in a little bit.
so we can't even ask a question?
No, not right now.
Okay.
So here's a look at the Phase 2 loan. And this Phase 2 loan amount, I've just combined what those Loan 1, Loan 2, and Loan 3 for Phase 2, that total amount would be. So in total, the Phase 2 loan amount would be $19,958,000. The interest rate through the SRF program is 2.5%. The loan term, we'd select at 30 years. We'd have 2 payments per year. So I've just gone through the math of what it would cost. We'd have you'd have a biannual payment of $474,799. And then you'd have an annual payment of $949,598. But then you have to collect 10% of your annual sum in excess coverage. So in total, we would have to collect $1,444,558. And then this note I've got at the bottom is just this total loan amount may be less depending on construction bids and possible additional grant funding. So as Brad said, by the time we take out this final loan, we would have actual construction costs. We know exactly what construction is costing, and we would know for sure if we were receiving any other grant funds. So this is what we believe to be the worst case scenario for the project.
You ready for the next slide?
Next, yep. So here is, I had told you there is a slide coming up about the assessment bond. So here's just kind of a snapshot of what that assessment bond looks like. So the assessment bond itself would be a $15.5 million assessment bond. So $14.7 million of that would be what we could use for construction for Phase 2. And then we'd also have to increase that amount by about $800,000, which is equal to 1 year's payment to have in a reserve account. The interest rate for an assessment bond is slightly higher than the SRF loan. Interest rate is about 0.5 point higher at 3%. The bond term, 30 years. Payments per year, 2, and we go through the same math here. The number of lots within the district currently is 1,590. That includes up where the Flathead Lake Club is currently. There are 14 lots that make up that whole area. And then I've got just a snapshot of what it would look like upon full build out of the Flathead Lake Club. They are projecting 400 lots to be in that development upon full build out. So there would be 1,990 lots. And then you can just see down at the very bottom, I've shown what the monthly parcel cost would be for a $15.5 million assessment bond, which is $41.26 per month or $495 per year. And then the very bottom line shows what it would be with the Flathead Lake Club fully built out, and it would be $32.96, or about $395 a year. So the unique thing, or the interesting thing, good thing, I guess, about assessment bonds is each year they're reassessed. So if the Flathead Lake Club is, say next year they have 10, 12, 20 lots in that development, then pretty soon this total assessment amount is divvied out between the number of lots within the district. So it incrementally decreases for each parcel owner within the district as more parcels are added to the district. So any development would decrease then the payment per lot as it would increase the number of lots.
Does that also include, does it already include now lots that are potentially proposed in Summers or any other potential subdivisions? That latest number that you have just includes the full build-up from Flathead?
Yes, and Summers is their own district, so we actually cannot charge Summers an assessment. If they were, they could do their own assessment, but because they are a separate entity, we cannot include any lots within Summers. So that would not apply to them.
Correct, but any other lots between here and Summers?
Yes.
Summers would obviously pay the impact fees like we currently charge for them, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so our district is, yeah, it runs from the south boundary all the way to the treatment plant. And so anything that's within our district boundaries between here and there, it would include.
Yes.
Summers, we have just met with Summers and proposed to them this plan that we're looking at. Told them what their potential rates could be with their board president and their general manager, so they're aware of this. Talked to them about their opportunities also, where they could go out for an assessment themselves rather than us raise their rates. So they're looking at those ideas between themselves. We can't assess another district like we can assess our own customers.
And they're, go ahead.
Another clarification, because when we went through a lot is defined as a parcel, does not have to have a hole on it.
No,
Or
so,
currently connected to the sewer or water,
correct. So correct. It is a lot, tract, or parcel. So there's a couple different ways you can do these assessments, and this is the one we felt was most fair. So it does include every lot, every lot within the district, whether they are connected or not to the wastewater treatment system right now. There is like a caveat there, though. When we go through this, if we get the green light to go ahead with this assessment and really deep dive into it and kind of finalize it, we will go through and look at every lot. If there is absolutely no way that a lot could potentially connect to the sewer, they won't be included, or they won't be considered. This number, would not, their lot would not be included, and they would not have to pay an assessment on that lot. And then there are a number of agencies that are immune from paying assessment dues, but this would be a good figure of approximately what is here now, or what we would be assessing.
Just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah, and I think the point is if the lot could potentially benefit from the services that we have available, that's where it's legal to, assess a lot that isn't currently connected.
Okay.
And the district would participate in that, so we would get county lot tract parcel data. They would print out maps. We have our maps. We have our customer database. We would lay those out on the table. We already know some that even though they're there, they just literally cannot benefit from it. It would be crazy to try to force them away. There could be a mountain in the way, right? You just don't see that on a flat map. So to try to get across from there to the sewer type thing. So there are exceptions to that. We have to go, there's quite a lengthy process to get through to figure all that stuff out.
Okay. Next slide. So that was, that kind of shows we went through all the expenses now, so here's what we're projecting for the revenue for the Lakeside County Water and Sewer District. So in fiscal year '28, I've just done that since that is what we showed all of the expenses on was fiscal year '28. So the existing Lakeside Water and Sewer District wastewater rates revenue would be about 1.4 million, or it would need to be about 1.4 million to meet all of our O&M expenses and satisfy all of our expenses that I had shown earlier. We would have in fiscal year '28, we would have an approximate revenue from Summers of $541,337, and this $541,000, that would include the rate. They will have a rate increase as well, and that would be with their rate increase. They currently have 378 EDUs or connections to their sewer system, which ties into our sewer system to ultimately be treated at the wastewater treatment facility. So it's projected that the revenue would be that $541,000. And then the estimated septic facility revenue, we estimate that at $526,360. What this includes, we've made some assumptions of what the O&M cost would be to operate that septic facility. We assume it would cost about $163,000 in year one of operation to operate that facility. And then we would have the revenue of the tipping, of the septic haulers tipping fees there, which we have at $140 per 1,000 gallons of septic dumped at the septic facility. So the revenue that they would generate minus the O&M that it would cost just to operate that facility. The remainder is this $526,360, which would be a credit to the wastewater treatment fund, or the Lakeside wastewater fund. So it would be a revenue. Does that make sense? I didn't go, this wasn't...
Well, it would be the excess revenue on top of what it costs to actually run the septic receiving facility itself, then would pay into the wastewater plant, right? Which is reducing. We're talking all the solids handling, the electricity, the heat, the labor. So it's not just paying into the septic facility itself; it's paying into the whole. And so that whole 526 is considered revenue towards our loan payments and all that stuff that she has been showing.
And then the last item there is the assessment bond revenue, which is $787,196, and it's just a carryover from the snapshot I had shown you of the assessment bond. So in total, all of these items add up to cover all of the expense costs. So then here is a snapshot of what the wastewater rates would be. So an overview, I've got the expenses or revenue shown on the far left column. So the O&M expenses is $1,356,145, which if you divvy that out, there are 1,258 EDUs within the Lakeside district currently. So if you divide the annual cost by the 1,250 EDUs, it gives you the monthly cost per EDU. I guess the most significant line is probably the bottom line, but I'll go through each of these items. The debt service, that would be the 74,000. It's not exactly 74,000, but 74,000-ish loan payment for the phase 1 loan, and then it would also include the phase 1 or the phase 2 loan 1, 2, and 3 amount. In total, $1.1 million in debt service. So that would be $74.13 per EDU is what the loan would cost each connection within within Lakeside. The Summers rate revenue, I think.
I was just going to make sure people know what an EDU is. It's the equivalent dwelling unit. It's a household, like a regular household, just in case people were wondering what the heck that was.
Sorry about that. The Summers rate revenue I have shown here as a debit on the annual cost. That $541,000 now, so it looks the same cost per EDU, and then the septic receiving facility as well. So in total, the revenue required by the ratepayers of the district, $1,407,447. Divide that by 1,258 EDUs, equivalent dwelling units, and the rate needed is $93.23. So currently, the wastewater rate in Lakeside is $61.59. So it would increase to $93.23.
Increased but not added on to. I mean, it's not 93 plus, yeah.
She's asking like the total.
What's that?
The total wastewater rate would be $93.23.
Yeah.
The total rate. It's not an additional, it is the total rate. The variable rate for wastewater currently is $2.43 per 1,000 gallons of septage, and that would remain the same. That is, at this point, that's not changing. And each EDU within Lakeside generates approximately 5,000 gallons per EDU. So 5,000 gallons of wastewater per month.
So just do the math, so you're gonna have the $93.23 plus each 1,000 gallons of
240.
usage,
Yeah.
correct? So it could be $105.67.
Well, so this would, sorry, I misspoke. This would be your total, this would be the total revenue that we need. So you'd actually take out, so 2.43, or $2.43. You'd take your variable rate out of this, so it'd actually end up being 80, I can tell you right now.
Oh, so you're saying this has 5,000 gallons of usage in it?
Yes.
Oh,
So this is the,
I didn't even know that. Okay.
so this is the total rate
Okay.
needed. So it would be the total amount that needs to be collected from each
Yeah,
EDU.
okay.
So that would include your usage rate and your base rate.
So you're not,
I think it's like $88 and change.
if you don't add, if you're using 5,000 gallons, you would not add that to the $93.23.
Correct.
If you use 10,000 gallons, then you would add that additional 5.
So the actual base, I think
Thank you, Kim.
people here are used to looking at base rates, right? So what is it gonna be if I don't use any water all month and that rate, so that
80.
rate for base rate would be 8108.
Yeah, 8108 would be your base
So-
rate.
Okay.
Yeah. And so with 5,000 gallons of usage on top of that, it would be, which is, and the reason a lot of times in rate studies they do that is they take our average, we actually gave you what our average is. So the average household is somewhere around 4.5 to 5,000 gallons a month. So that 93.23 is with 5,000 gallons a month.
Yes.
So do I understand this correctly, that we are currently at 61, you mentioned
59, 61.
61.59, so the worst case scenario with your, what you're showing right now would be that we would increase about $20 a month
Correct.
for base rate, and again, that's the worst case scenario. That's if we don't get any federal funding, if we don't contribute any other lakeside funds that we already have, and that we don't get any other funds from any other entities that we're currently or maybe in the future negotiate with, like could be potentially the county even, to help us improving some of the final treatment items that we're now adding on, especially the drying of the sludge, basically.
Correct.
Correct.
Just take note that this does include that assessment.
Correct.
So each lot is paying that as well.
Okay.
Yes.
That's the other thing to consider in this whole thing, right? When we're looking at this as a whole package, right? We have added in to this worst case scenario. So that is the cost of the membrane treatment, the extra membrane treatment, and the extra PFAS and pharmaceutical treatment. So that ultimately is a board decision of whether we add that now or maybe we add that in a couple of years. We know that we can treat down to the DEQ limit. improvements and know that we can do a good job with the SPR plant. But we're also aware that we can do a better job, right? Protecting the lake. And so we built the building big enough to handle that. Even if we didn't choose it today, like we just felt, wow, we're just putting too much on the ratepayers. I'm just throwing words out there, right? That the building is still big enough. We're building it big enough to be able to add that when we feel we need to add. So we did get firm dollar amounts, bids on the equipment, so we know what those are. So we're pretty confident in those numbers being in here. So it's just something to think about in the whole package of things.
I had also one more question for you, Brad, and I don't want to set you up, but I'm trying to make sure that the public also hears it. So the water quality that we are creating, or that we basically treat the liquid or the sewage to before we discharge it into the ground infiltrator ponds, basically. Can you explain that in simple terms, maybe, to what quality we're required to treat it to, and especially if we add the additional of the membranes to it, what that does to the quality? I always understand that certain waters in Montana have higher nitrate levels, even in groundwater, drinking water, that we would produce potentially out of our, after the end of our sewage treatment system. Maybe you could explain that a little more?
Sure. Yeah, the tertiary treatment would do a couple things. One is, it kind of does the same job as disinfection, so the pore size to get through the membrane would get things like E. coli, those sorts of organisms that we would usually use UV light to kill, like if we were doing a surface water discharge. A lot of times that stuff gets filtered out through the groundwater anyway, through the ground, through the earth, but this would ensure that it's done. It would also get all of the total suspended solids out, and so when you have total suspended solids, there's always a little bit, we would be able to hit our nitrogen limits without having tertiary treatment, right, without the membrane. But what it does is it would catch all of the phosphorus, all the solids, and those solids would contain little bits of phosphorus or nitrogen, and so that would catch that as well. And then the tertiary treatment stuff is carbon, and so that would react with the PFAS and some of the pharmaceuticals if there's anything left there. I mean, the membrane will take out some of that as well, but the carbon, the activated carbon, would take that to another level and get the PFAS out, which the membranes probably would not. We'd also have, the way we have this set up too, is we're able to dose alum right ahead of those membranes in case for some reason it's needed, and that alum reacts with phosphorus to form a little flock, and that membrane then would separate that flock out to make sure that there's no phosphorus getting discharged. So yeah, that's kind of in a nutshell what that would do, and it would provide very, very high quality water. We have some plants that work like that in Craig, and it's just, the water quality there is almost, it's almost drinking water quality. The operator there actually drinks it, it's a little upsetting.
You said that's at Craig?
Craig, Montana. So,
Which is right on the river.
yep. So, yeah, it would be, we don't have, that one doesn't have the PFAS removal, but it has the membrane treatment, so. Is that what you're looking for, Mark,
Yeah,
in that answer?
that's great, thank you. You want to continue, or have any questions at this point? Do we have any more slides?
I think this is actually the end of my presentation, so if anybody has any questions about this funding scenario or the wastewater rates, let me know.
Okay, any discussion on the board? Any questions for the staff or engineers?
Just to confirm, excuse me, to confirm what this agenda item is it's a presentation of what we've gone through, correct? Mr. Ron, tell me. It's not a vote to raise the rates as of today. Is that correct?
We are not raising the rates today.
So this is not, we're not voting to raise the rates today. People may have had that misconception, but that's why we want to do a presentation. So thirdly is probably need to make a decision where we're going to go with rates, correct me if I'm wrong, come this spring, next spring.
Yes, it would be of 2027, and all of this stuff here that I presented today is included in that rate study,
Okay.
which just elaborates more and gives more backstory and more explanation for all of these items and what they include.
So this gives us some time to process it.
Yeah, which, the full rate study, just FYI, is attached to the agenda online, and so you can go online and download it, look at that
Okay.
off the agenda. The one thing to discuss today, amongst the board, for one, is hopefully to have some discussion today, to keep some of these things like the assessment model. That's something we've been working with bond council for a long time. It takes time there's a lot of things to go through on an assessment before you ever do the assessment, right? So it's hoping that we can come to a decision, whether it's in a work session, whether it's through discussion today, to decide if an assessment model is something that we want to go forward with. Right. And then later, whether we need a rate increase or not, based on extra funding that we get, right? That would be once we find out congressional funding in the fall, by the time we get to the spring, we would know if we did or did not need to have a rate increase. But the assessment is something that, through working with bond council, through working with them, is something that I feel is a very good way to go. I know, you and Mark sat in on some of that too with the bond council.
Yeah. Let me expand a little bit on that assessment side. People don't like taxes. I hate taxes. I hate property taxes as much as anybody else. But go back and start looking at your property tax bills. This assessment model that we're looking at is something that is used quite often, and you're going to see it in your tax bills. It's, for example, mosquitoes. I have mosquitoes in my house. You say that, but you have an assessment for it because it's a public good throughout the county. The county landfill has got an assessment type of thing out there. You are, whether or not you drive, you have road assessments that are part of your property taxes as well. EMS type of stuff. If you're bare land, you still have like Summers Fire District assessment to your people in a house or structure. So it is a model, it's out there. It's just something that we're looking at, and we're in that exploratory phase and presenting it to everyone.
Yeah, just maybe a little more insight into why, some of the reason why it even came up through bond council and so on, and just district staff. Everything gets passed down the line, right? But sometimes the hope is that if in rates, there's a lot of renters, there's low-income people that live here, that by doing the assessment that some of that cost will get passed on to the actual landowner, and maybe not the full cost passed down to some of the low-income renters that are here trying to make a living. So it's just a different way to spread it out. Also, people who haven't, they're maybe already annexed into the district. I'm one of those that is not hooked up to sewer, but I would be paying that assessment. So there's people like that would, there's the potential there. Someday I will hook up on my septic. I'm ready to do that. I'll hook up. I'll be paying that assessment, and so will other people. So it's not just ratepayers that are you're tasking with this cost. You're tasking all those lots that are capable of hooking up at some point. So.
Can you maybe explain a little more why this also be beneficial for us to go that way with the Discovery project?
Yeah, so with Discovery or any other development for that matter, if you have a 20-acre parcel per se, and somebody wants to divide that into 20 individual lots, at this point, if it's 20-acre lot and we go to assessment, they're only gonna account for one at a 20-acre parcel. But as soon as they subdivide, and maybe that's 2 years in, 5 years in, and they subdivide it to 20 lots, that new assessment that year, that would change that to 20 lots. So that would reduce the amount over everybody by that much that year. So it would continue to increase. So for Discovery, there's 14 lots up there today because they haven't subdivided yet. They haven't got to that point. So if we were to do the assessment today, and there's 12 or 14, I don't want to be misquoted, but okay, there's 14 lots. So if we did the assessment today, they would be assessed for 14 EDUs, for 14 lots. As soon as if they subdivided phase 1 into 100 lots, between now and next fiscal year start, then we would, that new assessment, we would assess them for, it would be 13 lots and 113 lots total. So that those lots then would get spread across the whole community, and that would reduce the amount by that much. So it's a progressive thing. As it grows, more people hooks up, it gets better for everyone.
And it also has an end date too, 30 years.
Yeah, it has an end date. It's a 30-year
eventually.
assessment.
Any additional questions? On the board? Any other from the engineers?
Is that 30 years fixed, or is that movable too?
You can pay it off sooner.
Yeah.
That's what I was asking.
Yeah.
An individual, not, we wouldn't take it for 20.
Oh, so that's the other thing. Whoops, sorry, that kind of shut
Good
up.
question, actually.
Yeah, it is a real good question. So, and a lot of people like to do that. We've created sub-districts before, like Mission View, for example, when we took over the water system there. We had a $480,000 10-year assessment there, and some people chose to pay it up front. And so they just paid off their portion rather than get assessed. Somehow they're able to write that off differently and things like that. So there's multiple, so that there's that stuff that goes on too. So we would just apply that to the principle of the law. Did that answer your question?
Yeah.
Yeah? Excuse me, any other questions? Otherwise, we'll open it for public comments. Anybody like any comments or questions?
I have a quick question before Mary or anybody else. Just to be clear, so when Discovery or Yellowstone Club or whatever they want to call themselves, my name is Lisa Prue and I'm a Lakeside resident since 1959. And I use the Lakeside Water and Sewer Department's facilities now. And my question is, for the Discovery or whomever you want to call them come in, is there any chance that they'll want to do their own water and sewer department? I mean, I know you're running pipes and such up there now, but what if they at some point say, well, we'll just do our own, we'll just manage it ourselves. We'll put our own water sewer system in. That will never happen.
It's gone too far.
Okay, thank you.
There's no turning back.
And I only asked that because we had this experience in Big Sky,
Yeah.
and they did their own, and then it leaked, and then they joined the facility.
Yeah.
Thank you. Any other questions? Or comments, sorry.
Oh, comments.
You can just pass that to the next person, next time.
Kate Droll? Oh, it's working. Okay, so I guess one of my comments has to do with the assessment bond and that you're utilizing or proposing a per parcel assessment where it's a flat amount per parcel regardless of size or value otherwise. It's my understanding that the assessment bond could be set up or divvied up based off of area of the parcel or value of the parcel or linear frontage of the parcel. Have you guys explored those alternatives and the impact of cost to ratepayers? Knowing that Discovery's coming, yes, I understand that once all those lots are divvied up, that then would reduce the assessment bond amount that's allocated to the existing ratepayers. But what about today? And then kind of run differing models to determine what might be for the better benefit of the existing ratepayers in the long run. You might have already done that, but I'm just throwing it out as a suggestion.
I'll just say,
talking-
I'll just say we did.
Okay. And then my other question had to do with or comment has to do with the SRF loan. And it's my understanding that's through the state and the DNRC. And is there not an election required in order to seek that approval? Has the state waived that?
For SRF loans?
Yeah. Or maybe I'm getting it confused with a different bond.
Well,
Yeah.
here, he'll go ahead and ask you.
Okay.
It's a revenue bond.
It's a
through
revenue
rates
bond?
and charges, so it's not required.
It's not
As long as
required
The district or city or whoever puts those charges in place, that they have coverage for the
Okay.
land. And then the other thing they require, and that's something we maybe should have made a little bit clear there, is that 10% excess coverage. That's something that they require, so whatever, it's still the district's money, but in case the population goes down, or people don't pay, or something happens, whatever your payment is, you have to collect an extra 10%. And then it's the district's money, but you have to collect it. So that 10% excess coverage that showed up a few times, that's what that's about. I know that wasn't your original question, but it kind of wove in there a little bit.
No, that helps because it's then like a revenue-backed loan, and that's why the rates would need to increase to back the additional loans, correct?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Let's see, okay, so Mary Flowers, Citizens for a Better Flathead. We went through court hearing this morning to which the court still has to determine if this project and the discharge permit is valid or not. Should the court decide that it is not valid and this project either has to go back to the drawing board or dies, what happens with the bids that you've signed, the contracts you've entered into? What is the liability on the ratepayers? Because you're kind of getting ahead of your skis without that court ruling. So I don't know if you want me to ask question by question and
There's no questions, Mary, it's comments, public comment.
Okay, well, you responded to Kate.
Yeah, no, that's just something.
You just don't like me as much,
Those are
right?
simplistic. We're in a lawsuit with you, okay? So we're not answering your questions. We'll take your comments and we'll respond to them.
Let's see, so I do have questions, in terms of what analysis you've done on what liability there is. If the funding isn't approved, but you've entered into contracts, if the court case rules that the project isn't viable, what are all the liabilities that the ratepayers should be made aware of upfront right now for? You've run through a series of sources for debt service. It would be nice to see a breakout of all of the, on one page maybe, all of the debt and the service, the sources of the debt and the breakout of the debt service. So I think I'm understanding from what was said during your discussion is that this summer you're not going to do a rate increase of any kind. It looks like you're talking about spring of '27 before you approve your 2027 budget. You will hold rate hearings and public comment on a rate increase.
I think it depends on the funding we get from the feds potentially.
Is there what kind of funding decision goes to a vote of the ratepayers?
Only a user fee increase, not rate increase.
So the special assessment, it looks like that does, if 50% of the ratepayers protest that doesn't go forward.
Correct.
I have more questions. I don't know if you want to give me more time or not.
You should put your questions in on email or something, and then we can answer them. But we're gonna follow MCA rule on all of those things, for assessment bond, for rate hearings, any of those things. So, but, yeah, we're not answering questions today. If you want to submit a list of questions, we'll.
So you do have in that packet that I handed out, you have a sheet that
Yep.
does ask some questions. These are additional, based on your discussion today. Oh, I'm sorry.
Fred Croby, 241 Ben's Lane. Could you back up one slide? I'm going to try to phrase this as a comment and not a question. Could you back up one slide? I did some mental math and I wanted to see if I might be missing something. The first line and the last line adds up to about, round numbers, 2.2 million. And I believe those are revenue coming from Lakeside residents. Am I correct in that? That's roughly 4 times what the rest of the county will be paying in the tipping fees, the 526,000. My comment is that 4-to-1 ratio, in other words, this facility is being built to serve the entire county. You're shaking your head no, but the septage is coming from the rest of the county, is it not?
Very small portion, though, comparatively to what we serve today for residents. So we serve 320,000 gallons a day from Lakeside, Summers, and that's only 60,000 gallons a day at full build out.
It was my understanding that that was one of the factors, the inability of the septage companies to have a place to dispose of their septage. I was understood that that was one of the main driving factors for this project.
Incorrect.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Jennifer Tipton, North Shore Water Alliance. I kind of wanted to piggyback a little bit off of what Mary was commenting about the costs of, with this phase 2, and in light of ongoing litigation, we don't feel it's fiscally prudent for you guys to move forward with construction on the RIBs at this time. You had said previously if you were, unable to get this discharge permit, that you would still land apply, irrigate. So if, the court judges in favor for the plaintiffs, if you start construction in that area for these infiltration basins and then are unable to use them, I feel that would be a huge waste of money. And then also, I guess, off of his comment, today the DEQ, the lawyer for DEQ was saying that, this whole project would create an overall reduction in nutrients, and your guys' change in your mission statement, really putting forward that you are protecting Flathead Lake. I guess I know your district originally formed to get septic systems off of the lake. I cannot understand how bringing the entire county's septic waste, I know in the presentation it says that it's a very small volume, or maybe it was not in the presentation, but in the report, that the septic is a very small volume of water, but it's a very high concentration of nutrients. And then we're bringing all of the septic waste from the entire county and doing groundwater discharge potentially 1 mile north of Flathead Lake. That does not seem to me to be reducing nutrients in this area overall. So that's my comment. Thank you.
I guess I would like to make a comment. That's why I had Brad Keene, the engineer, explain that our discharge quality water is gonna be literally drinking water. So we're trying to remove PFAS that you were always concerned about from the beginning. That's included right now in our proposal. If we can do that, I mean, that addresses one of the biggest items I think you always had. We're also bringing the quality down of the water that we discharge to a level that is, again, basically drinking water. So that's why the reports say that we are gonna improve, if anything, the quality of the groundwater out there, because our treated fluid is gonna be better than what's currently maybe even on the ground.
I appreciate that, and I guess my understanding was that you were potentially looking at that. I hadn't seen anything on paper that was the plan, so until I see that is happening, I'm going to assume that that's just a potential that
That's
you're
fair.
looking at.
That's fair.
Thank you.
Yeah, and just to add to your comment, if you're taking untreated septic from the whole county, untreated, and you're bringing it to a site where it's gonna be treated down to the same discharge limits as what our residential strength wastewater is being treated to, how can you not call that a win? I'm just, let's get honest. How can you not call that a win? You're taking on 60,000 gallons a day of septic that's going to be dropped in the lower valley. Most of those sites are in the lower valley already, near bodies of water, untreated. If you're going to bring so it's all the talking points you put out, it's a mile from the lake and it's going to go directly in the lake. It's got to meet the discharge level that the district has, which is a permit level. We have testing wells out there that will be tested. We still have to drill 2 more to get to the point that the DEQ wants us to be. Those will be tested monthly, annually. They will be monitoring everything. We will be monitoring everything. It has to meet that. How can that not be a win? So it's just,
Well, my well is,
it
1,000
does
feet
not,
from where you're
understand
discharging
that,
it,
Jennifer, I
so
understand.
I don't want to drink.
I understand your well, but what I'm saying is that liquid, regardless of septic, that liquid going in there with what we're proposing today, fully loaded, which we said, it includes PFAS,
I
it
appreciate
includes
that.
membrane. How can that not be a win from what we're doing today? We're putting 90 million gallons of effluent, already land apply that every year annually for 40 years on a site similar to the site where those groundwater discharge ponds are going to be. Now we're going to treat it 70 to 80% better than we treat it today. And then adding membrane and the PFAS is even better than the SBR plant, right? So we're not even talking that. So we're really trying to be a win here for everybody involved, including your drinking well.
I appreciate that.
So.
Any additional comments?
Anybody out there?
This kind of doesn't have, and I'm not going to use a microphone. My name's Lisa Pooh, I live in Lakeside, and I have some Lakeside water sewer services now. This is not maybe even relevant, but someone told me that Evergreen just drives down and dumps all their stuff just north of the lake. Is that true or not? Or is that any relation? It doesn't have anything to do with you, I realize, but.
Yeah, Evergreen does not. But they do hire a contractor that is in the lower valley.
Right,
Yes.
that's what I should have said.
And they're not the
I
only.
wasn't that clear on it anyway.
And that's the point I'm trying to make is they're not the only ones that are dumping in the lower valley. So when you talk about little rivers and streams and things like that, they're all throughout the lower valley. And most of these septic haulers are dumping in the lower valley.
And
Will
that never should
we be helping them at all?
Yes, you will be helping them.
I mean, not that I want
I
to
know
help
some
everybody.
knowledge from my previous life, in the city. Evergreen's sewage all gets plumbed to Kalispell. Kalispell processes it in the exact same way that we process Summers right now. Type of contract, it's a flow, it's exactly the same way. However, a lot of Evergreen's is gray water. meaning the solids aren't there. So there's still, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Rodney, there's still solids in Evergreen out of those septic tanks. A lot of those older homes in Evergreen are still on septic tanks. And then instead of the drain field, it's pipe that goes out to the sewer for that gray water, black water, excuse me, not gray water. And then that gets processed. So there's still solids that have to be taken, and then those, I almost said Ready Freddy, but yeah, he's one of the guys. Then they take those solids and spray them out. Also in Lower Valley, one of the larger ones is Big Forks Sewer District. On Farm Road, there's a very large acreage there, well, large acreage, maybe 50 acres.
Right by the green boxes.
Right by, yeah, just past the green boxes on Farm Road. If you go down, you'll see like, it's on the west side of Farm Road, there's some tanks there, and they do the storage. So they bring some solids from Big Forks. So Big Forks dumping right in Lower Valley, and that was probably closer than a mile to the lake, to be honest with you. So I don't think we're going to be taking Big Forks, but that stuff that goes on in Evergreen and all the other places in the valley, whoever's not hooked up to a municipal sewer system, we are going to be helping clean up that, and that's where it was part of that county grant passed down to us so that we could offer that type of thing. So if you've ever watched a septic tank being, the trucks go, it's not nice.
And this has nothing to do, but I appreciate your educating me, but is there any chance Big Fork could go find their own place?
There's a chance they would have to go through some of the processes we are doing right now.
Yeah,
To do
that's,
some upgrades to do that, take care of it.
thank you, I'm going to excuse myself.
I just have a question about that one. On Lower Valley where they're dumping that raw sewage, and we could facilitate that at the plant, but it's not obligatory, is it? They don't have to bring that to the plant, and do they? Are they forced to?
Are you talking Big Fork, or you're talking?
No,
septic
I'm
columns?
A1,
Oh, okay.
those people.
Yeah, they're not mandated to have to come to our plant. Most of these septic haulers though are having a problem getting property and new leases, and then the DEQ's been a lot more, it's been enforcing their laws, and it's gotten more expensive for the septic hauler. So our whole thing with getting grant money and everything is to keep the tipping fees low enough and make it simple enough for them, so they can just, they don't have to worry about a piece of land. They can pull up, they can dump that truck, and they can go pump another tank and come back, dump that truck, and they don't have to worry about that. Picking up the trash out of the fields, tilling it in, all those things that they
That
have.
makes it more expensive for them.
It does.
It does. It's gotten more expensive for them.
Which will help, which that more expense will then help move them over to our facility to be able to clean it up better. So, yeah, there's a carrot there.
Yeah, we want to make it affordable, all right, and as much as we can, but it's also got to benefit the ratepayers as a whole too, right? So otherwise, you know, we're not just a gift horse to the Clark County, but we do want to be a benefit.
Any other questions? No. Comments?
Please, thank you. I'm Tanya Kids of M14 Lakeside Boulevard. A few minutes ago, Kate made a comment about the special assessment, if there is one, which sounds very likely, that you didn't have to go by the, I can't remember how you phrased it. You didn't have to go by the parcel. You could structure it differently, like by area or something like that. And I think you mentioned that it had already been explored, but could it be re-explored? Because with such a, large parcel, even, as it's subdivided and it's, spread out among those additional parcels, if it could be, the burden could be shifted a little by somehow doing the assessment differently. Would you be interested in looking at that again, potentially? No?
I-
Oh, you're not, this is not a question, that was a comment. It would be great if you could relook at it again.
Talk to the board.
Okay, board, can you please look at that
They have to
again?
have those discussions.
Okay.
So based on your comment.
Thank you.
They have those discussions.
Thank you.
So we're not, it's just hard to talk to.
Got
all
it.
of
I
us.
mean, all I can say is, we're not voting on anything today or right now anyhow, so all those things are still fresh in our minds, obviously, and we're trying to, at some point in the future, near future, to make a decision which way to go that is best for our customers and for our district. That's really all it is. Any more questions regarding, or comments regarding the rate study?
There's room. How many are out there? Two. Oh, no, there's
There's nothing there.
well, if you, based on public comment, can continue now. After that, right now it's back to you, the board members, to have discussion. You can have more discussion about assessments and those kind of things. You can ask me questions. This is about now you having a discussion as a board. I would, I guess, direction from the board for the general manager of, you know, maybe what you heard today, you know, about assessments and rates, you know, maybe coming down the line after we receive more, you know, if we're getting more grant funding, and that does the assessment option look like something that the board would want to go down that road, because part of it is we could still, even if you haven't made a full decision, but that's looking like something that you would entertain, is doing an assessment like that. We could still continue, you know, working with the engineers, you know, creating some maps and things, and start just at least, you know, looking at that kind of stuff, preparing the things. 'Cause it's quite an extensive process by the time you work with bond counsel, by the time you come up with those maps, by the time you advertise it and work through all the rules that MCA has that you have to go through in advertising. And it's probably
Few months.
it's a few months process, right? So for us to continue to kind of have some kind of direction to know what to do, from month to month anyway, you know, so.
I guess one of the questions would be, I have, is it something that you have a deadline, or do you feel like we have to initiate it soon, so we're ready for the first of January? And then in addition to that question, I know different people have now asked that too. Maybe, Kayla, you know the best how we broke down, how we came up with the lot numbers. And when you looked at lot frontages or the other ways of looking at it, can you explain it why, just for our customers too, to understand why we kind of went towards the individual lots?
Yeah, so we looked at the not acreage, but square foot of each lot. We looked at the value of the home on each lot, and we determined that we looked at all of them and figured out the price per lot or per unit. And we figured it was the most fair approach to go this route, as it didn't, with square footage, it was very, it basically made it so like the expensive homes on the lot, or on the lake, they were paying a much higher cost, as were like Flathead Lake homes. However, it seemed like it was unfair for certain homes that maybe were, you know, like family homes that were being handed down, or somebody who had purchased a long time ago and lived on the lake and happened to have like a nice lot. It's like they were being penalized for having that, even though it wasn't. Maybe that's kind of how it appeared. And same with square footage. It made it so if you just had a 20-acre lot that nothing was on it, you were paying far more than somebody with a really nice home right down here Gurney Creek Road. So it just seemed the most fair. It didn't penalize anybody that kind of had either a nice little spot or a nice home or some acreage. It just kind of made sense that we would do it per lot, tract, or parcel for the district as a whole. It just seemed like it was the most fair option. And we did divvy it out, like I said, to see what each individual address or each individual lot would pay the 3 different ways. And there was quite a difference in what each of those options were. And like I said, it just seemed to financially and make sense for each lot.
And I might just add to that, I mean, that's kind of a matter of, with each method, there's some people that just don't fit, like that's just not right for those people, or it's not fair for these people. So each method has advantages and disadvantages to different groups, or maybe a small subset with unusual circumstances, so it's certainly not a perfect thing. I mean, these, frontage, for instance, that's really not that's usually done with streets. If you have more street frontage and it's a street SID, you pay more because you have more benefit there. For sewer, using each lot, if you're one normal home, then it just seemed to be the most fair. But, there are people that would argue that, if you do it based on value, assessed value, that some people pay more unfairly and they're getting the same service as someone next door to them that just have a cheaper home. So they're still benefiting equally, but you're having to pay more. But, I think that's all open to interpretation, and quite frankly, it's super easy to calculate it all. It's just, when you look at all those numbers, you can pick out situations in each item that's like, that just doesn't seem quite right. And then you look at the next one, that one's like, that's really a little bit unfair. Then you go to the other way, and it's like, yeah, this group then is all of a sudden unfair. So you kind of try to take what's the most fair and move forward, but really that's your guys' decision, not, we have all that. We can show you it all. It's not hard to calculate. It's just hard to make the decision. So.
And that's kind of how it went when we went down those roads with bond counsel. We used to have a different bond, same office, but a different bond council member, Courtney, and we did some extensive work with her on that. And that's kind of how it went, is we were going down those trails of different options and different ways. We would get down that trail and we'd all be looking at each other like, man, that just doesn't seem right. It just didn't fit. And so then we'd go back and we'd go down this trail and try that one, like whether it be value versus size. And this just felt that what's nice about this way is that if you do have a 20-acre parcel and you're charging them for one EDU, just like the one house next door, if they choose to subdivide that into 10 lots or something, or 20 lots, then that year following that, we'll start assessing them for 20 lots on that 20-acre parcel. So, and that's when we kind of felt like it just started looking more fair to go down this road, right? Like maybe up front, we're not hitting them so hard for that nice piece of property they got there, but if they go to do something like that with them, then they're going to come into the mix. So, you get your microphone.
I'm not even quite sure how to ask this, because I know it's very probably naive, but with this initial draft of a rate study, will RPA or somebody kind of be following it as monies come in and modifying it so the board will have an ongoing adjusted? Does that make sense?
Yeah, you can post it. Yeah, they are our engineer. They're involved in every aspect of this going forward. In fact, when we hired them, that's why we did that. They're managing all of our grants, all of our pay apps, all that reimbursement through the grants, all that. I just give you an example. Evergreen managed their own. When they went out for the ARPA grant, I think they've hired 10 more people now or whatever in their office, right, to do all that. And they're like, it's a lot of work. So we went down the road of not staffing up to do that. And they're doing a fantastic job of that.
Yeah, and I think that part's great.
Yeah.
My basic question is will we be able to follow this as money comes in And hopefully these figures
Down.
become
Yep,
more
yep.
exciting.
Yeah, I'll be updating you on, I think I did, I've been doing that on the
Yeah.
grant money we applied for, which you,
Right.
I don't think we already applied for it before you started.
Right.
But I updated that they sent it to the committee. They basically called and said, we submitted you for $10 million.
There'll be an updated rate
There'll
study
be,
from
there'll
time
be
to time.
updated rates as those studies start to come in, as we get bids. So, it'll get updated as we go out to bid on, we already went out to bid on the ground improvements. Those actually came back cheaper than we thought so far, so it's looking good there. But when we go out for the concrete work, we're hopeful there too that they'll come in cheaper. So it's things, we'll do updates as we go along.
Now that we finally have something,
Yeah.
then we'll, okay.
And that's why it said, I think on your cover sheet of the rate study, which is online, the actual full document. And we talked about that. It's a moving target,
Okay.
but it's a draft subject to change. And you will be updated as those changes are going along.
Thank you.
I guess for me, I look at it, Darcy, like a living, breathing document, literally from here until we finally make a decision which way we're gonna go with the user rates, and at that point, we will know the grants, if we got any, and how much the district will contribute, et cetera. And by that point, then we all, and everybody will be involved in it. So are there additional? We don't have to make a motion today or on this,
No,
unless you wanted to know which way we're gonna go.
Yeah, I guess, I don't know if it's a formal motion or what. I guess just to maybe maybe you guys can discuss how you guys feeling about, like, even if it's just, it's just discussing how you're feeling about going down that road of an assessment up front as a way, in the way it's been discussed here today, in other words, and maybe, and again, if you need to table it for a month, and it's okay too, it's not the end of the world, but if there's things we can continue working on in a direction, that's helpful too, so.
Okay, I'll go first. I would say, we're not voting on it. I don't even know if we need to do it, and if we accept the rate study, accept it, we've got it as part of our contract. It's information that we need. You have to do rate studies to project where you're gonna go in the future, and what type of funding you need for it. So in that respect, I think it's great that we did it. It's wonderful information. Thank you, Kayla. Putting a lot of it together. The assessment is a tool that is listed in here. To give you some direction from me, I would say yes, look at that path. If we need to further identify parcels and stuff like that, we've got some time to do that. So that's kind of our back end. And then exploring some other ideas as well. If they come up, we got the grants. So I guess I say yes, move forward with the direction this is showing us right now. And then to the general public, you think about it and look at it, and it's out there for the public to digest now, which I think is done. The one thing nobody's going to like is the money, but unfortunately, you've got to pay for what you need. So I'm glad we got it out there now. We're not making a decision on it. So, but come this spring, we're going to have to do something. That'll give us time to hear from people, for you guys to do some explorations on the assessments as an option, and for some funding to come in, so we'll be in a better position. Probably January, February would be my guess, to really then at that point adopt some new rates based off of this study.
Just to clarify, I think the assessment, as far as going down that road of when that money is needed for the model that you suggested today of the assessment, when what's your timeline of feeling like the assessment that, I mean, I know we can look at maps and like you just said, and continue to identifying parcels and things like that. But when should the assessment, so that the money, by the time we get through the advertisement, the public stuff, and all of that, when should that assessment be finalized? Like the timeline?
I would think maybe April, late March or April. We'd want to understand how the county gets it on the, gets it out and what their deadlines are and coordinate some of those things with both the bond council and with Flathead County so that it can get out onto tax bills and what their deadlines are.
Yeah.
So that's important. But I think having that money available generally in the spring would be when it would be really needed. Does that make sense to you, Kayla?
Yeah, I was thinking it was closer to like the first of the year for the assessment.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking like having everything ready and done in February.
Okay, like done, so which means we would have to start, so we would need to start.
January,
Yeah.
ready to go. I mean, I don't know what the county schedule is for getting it out. That's part of it.
But I think the work on it would begin September at the
Yeah.
latest. I mean, if we had the green light now to start looking at things, I think the sooner the better to start.
Yeah, because you can't get it onto onto property taxes even right now.
No, exactly.
We're too late to get
Right.
November, so the earliest tax bill you could ever get an assessment attached onto would be next year,
Right.
2027's fall bill, which then probably makes that alignment of that March, April timeframe. But I think we'd also kind of have the discussion as we need to converse with the county as part of identifying parcels, is identifying how this works, their timelines and stuff like that as well.
Yeah, which was one of our tasks, yeah, we were talking
the tasks out there.
Yeah, bond council earlier. There's some other avenues that our bond council was talking about with the county. If you're doing an assessment and it's not meeting up with the county's timeline, like right now when we do assessments, like we're submitting them right now. So we do have assessments for the South 80 subdivision, and so those get submitted in July every year to the county. But there's some other avenues too that bond council was talking about with the county on that. So we're still exploring those options and everything. So yeah, so I think if you, we can bring this back to the table. That kind of thing, as long as we'll keep working on some maps, I guess is what you're suggesting. That kind of thing, if everybody's good with that, and we can, and then I guess bring it back to the table after the public has had time to review it. You've had more time to look at it, think about it, and we can discuss it again at the next board meeting type thing.
I guess just my direction, I agree with Darcy. Tim and I had a little bit of a leg up because we sat in this last meeting with engineers. But for everybody else, I think I would also imagine that Rodney would be open to discussing further, just a month or whatever, totally fine. I think I would be leaning towards this direction too. I know I'm in the district too, obviously, so it's going to affect all me too. So I guess everybody on that. I don't know if there's any more comments from the board or questions. Do you have what you think you're good?
If you're all good with that? Yeah.
Yeah.
If I may interrupt with just a clarification, was the assessment bond revenue built into the $93 and change per month rate fee?
No.
So what does that add to the individual ratepayers per month?
It was on the past.
$41.26.
So that's in addition to the 93.
So we
The 20 more. yeah.
$495 a year.
Yep.
And the idea with that is to not have it on the monthly rate type thing. Homeowners can do different things with it versus, than a monthly thing that comes along every month.
Okay, we're going down to the next item on the agenda, which would be phase 1 change order number 6.
We're gonna go ahead, we're gonna go ahead and excuse the engineers and thank them for their time and
Thank you very much.
have a safe trip home. Good job.
No problem.
Thank you. I'm gonna grab my thumb drive right above it.
your job now.
My job. My job. All right.
Thank you, Brad.
Thank you.
You guys.
Okay, this is change order number 6 for the headworks. This is when we did the temporary service for this project out there at the headworks, we ended up paying Flathead Electric the bill for the part of the temporary service that was supposed to be included in Swank's contract. And so this is a credit for $6,671 to credit back to the headworks facility for that total.
That's a positive thing.
So that's a positive thing for us. It's still something we have to process through. So you can see it there, 50 kilowatt transformer. That's primarily the cost for it, and the elbows and wire.
Who's gonna make that difficult motion?
And
Gonna package it?
so this is just the whole thing, the whole
Oh.
bill. It shows you where they got the money from, right here, from that. There were other fees that we did need to pay, but they were, what happened? What the heck?
Not sure, but that's a place I'd like to go.
There you go, that's right.
Yeah.
Is that Florence?
Looks pretty good right now.
Pretty good.
Oh, sorry. Anyway, there's a credit for 6,000. Are you good with that?
We're good with that.
You'll take it? Okay, now the bad news.
Hold on, hold on.
You have to have a motion, no, I'm just kidding.
We need a motion on the good news first.
Motion to approve change order number 6.
You have a second?
Guys, there's a
No, this is separate, huh? No, that's fine, that's change order number 6, you guys can vote on the to accept that.
No, we have,
Public
need to
comment.
have public comment.
Oh, I
Like you're
forgot
saying.
about public.
On the change order?
Sorry.
Gotta yell louder at him.
I don't have any public comment on this change order.
Okay.
You sure?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Couldn't it just be a good one?
A motion and a second?
I don't know.
Any more discussion?
Land a motion.
Motion to approve change order number 6.
Second.
Sorry, I'm
A
sorry.
motion and a second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Now let's see the bad news.
Rodney,
Okay, so, so this change order's got to do with the septage. Because the septage is, well, two things. We're also getting a credit for that same temporary hookup from the septage building. So there's two separate locations. So that credit is $8,572. But we're also, this is something that I wanted. There's a permanent connection for the septage receiving facility to connect to the full plant once it's built. That's the way it was intended to be built, but because of delays, the septage isn't gonna open it, can't open at the same time as the headworks and so on that we're flowing into now. So we want to make a temporary connection because we want to at least use the offices. So we want to be able to test just regular water through the equipment. There's things that you have to do at the septage that they require you to do so that your bearings on pumps and things don't go flat. You want to exercise those things. And so we want to actually temporarily hook the septage up to the headworks at a temporary location so we can use those things and be able to work out of there. In other words, some of our operations, right now we have 4 operators that are packed into this back room right here. So we want to be able to use that office in that, just a normal bathroom out there. So that is a $29,283 change order. And so with that, I'll kind of show you what that, you can see here the original price of the septage, $8,457,000. Previous change order amounts have been negative $27,338 because we had a credit early on for like $60,000. And so we still had some there. This change order is 20. So new contract price, you can see the original was $8,457,000, we're now at $8,450,000. So we're still not quite back to the original contract amount at the septic. So this is a credit, but it's also, the proposed total price for that connection was $29,283. So you can see Sandry's bid here, because they have to remobilize materials, 3 days labor, so on, for that pipe. And then here's that 4-inch force main coming across and connecting temporarily into this line right here, so that it will be able to run through our headworks, any bathroom that we use over there, any, you know, just real, fairly simplistic, but we gotta be able to like continue to test the equipment out there, and so it just didn't seem right to have it sitting there the whole time doing nothing. And here's that credit for the transformer again. That's pretty much it.
Sounds to me. Anybody have questions? A motion yet?
Yeah, I have a question.
I don't think there's anybody out
I'm
there.
not sure if, yeah, it got hot out there. This temporary, Rodney, is it just like a hose that's laying across the ground, or it's actually buried?
Yeah, it's actually buried in the ground. It's got to go through the winter.
Okay.
So they actually have to excavate.
So that was my next question. This is gonna be temporary, but it's gonna last for
As long as it
8,
lasts.
10, 12 months?
Yep.
Okay.
Or more.
Or more. It will stay in the ground, so.
Yeah. And then disking, I think, is fairly easy, because they're gonna be trenching through there to connect to the plant.
Yes.
So they'll just disconnect at that point, connect it into the new pipe.
Okay. So maybe the same pipe in the ground?
Yeah, the same pipe. So what they're doing.
Well,
yep.
then just the ends where they connect will be changed out. Okay, so we're
So the
not,
pipe's already in the ground all the way from the septage over, but it's just kind of stubbed out in the ground.
okay.
So they're just
It's
gonna
not like
add
we're
on
gonna
to it.
abandon it,
Right.
throw it away
No.
down the future, so,
No.
okay. Thank you.
Any public comments on this item? Okay. We have a motion to approve with this change order, or do you have any more questions?
I move we approve the change orders.
Okay, we have a second.
I'll second.
A motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you. Next item is election of board organization, yeah. Well, this is a hot topic.
You don't need a mic anymore.
No, that's all right. Well, I mean, you guys see it all. I know we haven't gone through this for quite a while, and partially it has to do that we're supposed to do the board reorganization, I think within 8 weeks after an election. And so this is, in the past, we had many, many years where we didn't even have elections. It just, we never had people that even ran for positions, so it was reappointments. So we at times adjusted the president, the vice president, and any other positions within the board. And we've had, it's been a while, yeah, since we had the last, and so it's time to do this, obviously. And so, I think pursuant to what we have, our rules on the, right now are, it's basically open to any board member to make a suggestion, to recommend somebody be the board president, and somebody being the board vice president. And so, it's just a process of nominating who you guys would like to. And to be honest, just between all of you guys and me, I've done it for a long time. I'm not tired of it, but it's at times a lot with my other work that I do, obviously my other job. So I would not be opposed if somebody else wanted to take it on for a
You
while.
won't be offended.
Oh, no. No, I tell you, my wife would be appreciating it.
Maybe you can, maybe it might be helpful to the board, my input is to some of the board members that might not know what's involved for the board president, how much time goes into that, you know,
Yep.
that kind of thing. And I mean, sometimes it can be as, you know, I mean, it can be as much time as you want to be involved, right? But as far as the amount of time maybe that you need to be involved versus, you know.
Yeah, I mean, at times for me, it's easy. I feel like I'm always close. I'm in summers. I do this kind of engineering stuff basically also, so for me, it's not that hard, but it still takes time. There's weeks when, between maybe signing just some documents for Rebecca for payment, payout stuff for Swank and stuff, and for a meeting with Rodney here and there for some kind of an engineering interview or something. It can be, I would guess it 2 hours, maybe 3 hours a week. Sometimes there's nothing for 2-3 weeks, and then there's maybe a 5-hour meeting. So it's, I mean, sometimes it doesn't hit the right time, obviously, for me either, so there's some things like that to do, but it's not overwhelming, and if you have a job that lets you, if you have a job, because in the past we had a lot of retired people, to be honest, that's something that's changed. So there was a lot of time on their hands usually that they could do these things, and so we just haven't had any, which is great to see finally some younger board members on it. I've been for 20, 30 years on it, and I was always the youngest guy, but finally we have young people on it, so that's great to see. And I like I said, I'd gladly set out a while. So, and I also don't want to talk anybody into it, but it is some commitment, obviously, and there's some things to come up, and but overall, it's been, I enjoyed it every day almost. If you have questions for me, you can also always ask me. If it's up to me, I would make a motion, but I don't know if I should.
I move to elect Tim as board president.
I'll second that. Well, we have a motion and a second to elect Tim as president. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign? Nobody. Vice president?
I did not vote.
No offense.
No.
It's nothing
I
personal.
will accept it.
So I mean,
We'll see how long I last.
how about vice? I can make a motion for, maybe for Kathy? I don't know, you're the second longest serving board member at this point?
Well, I still don't know that I know enough of the industry, but sure. Because I would be here if he's not there, so don't get sick.
I'll make a motion to appoint Kathy as the vice chair.
I'll second.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, we
Well.
have a
Forfeit.
motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, all same sign. Thank you very much. The next item that we have is, and I don't think it's crucial, but it's something we've had in the past, and I think, Rebecca, maybe you want to explain a little bit more on the board liaison assignment, how, or do you want to?
Yes,
Oh,
if you want to, Rebecca.
yeah, I forgot about that. I thought we were talking about the resolution.
Or
I'm like, that
liaison.
is,
Yeah.
so I think I explained it in the email.
Okay, yeah, so I'll just read it. As a part of the board's organization meeting, the board will consider appointing trustees to serve as liaisons for various subject areas. These assignments are intended to make the best use of each trustee's professional experience, interests, and availability while improving communication and efficiency. Liaison assignments do not delegate decision-making authority or authorizing individual trustees to act on behalf of the board or direct district staff. All policy decisions, expenditures, and official actions remain the responsibility of the board acting as a body during duly noted public meetings. Trustees are encouraged to consider which liaison assignments best align with their professional backgrounds, interests, or experience. Liaison assignments may be modified by the board at any time. So these are, they're just, yeah, so there's like, do you each have a copy? Is that it? Okay. Yeah, so you can kind of see there, one of them's kind of finance and budget, others capital improvement, operations infrastructure, governance and personnel, community relations, strategic planning, public outreach, those kind of things. So part of that can help me by knowing, which people to call upon, like, the PR PR firm or something gets a call from NBC Montana and wants to do some kind of interview, I can go, well, you know, that's Tim's job.
Really?
Or that's Landon, right?
There we go.
But I can at least maybe bring you in and say, hey, here's what's going on.
Right.
You know, and get your input on it and include you, because we can't have 3 board members, obviously, right, where it's a meeting, so it's a way to have interaction, you know, other ways, so. So I guess it's just maybe if there's some headings there, labels that you might wanna choose or raise your hand for, or, you know, that
I don't
kind
even
of.
think you have to do it today. It's
No.
something you can go anytime to Rebecca and say, you know, I would really be interested in doing that. And I would like to help on that more, that's one of my interests.
Yeah, that's true.
So.
I would rather go
there's-
that route.
Okay.
And then
You guys
find out
can-
more what this entails.
Yep.
What's expected. And
As long as you guys
We
take
have
all the
passion
jobs,
for
as long as you take all the jobs, so. It's all good. You okay? That okay?
Yeah.
Okay, on the next item then, with the earlier discussion with Darcy, do we just want to table this at this
Yeah.
point?
I would suggest that.
Can I tell you a little, before you do that, can I tell you what this is about, really in full? We are already operating under 11-2, right? And the only reason we put the cover page on there is the full document's on our website at all times. That Montana law actually suggests that along with picking a board president and a board vice president, that you do a gap, there's a gap in governing now, right? But, so we just selected you. So now at the future meetings come, it might be a month away, it might be 2 months away before you discuss and want to change something, right? Or add to something. What this does is fills the gap in government. It's just saying that we're going to continue to operate under our existing rules until we go do that. So if we're not changing nothing, this isn't something that we're saying is gonna go on in perpetuity. It's literally meant to be so that we're governed during this gap.
Is it mandated by law?
It is. Yep.
But we're already operating under our ordinances, so I guess
Exactly.
I'm
So there's
confused.
what they call it is they call it reaffirming. You're reaffirming that right now, we just voted for a new president, vice president. We're reaffirming that we are gonna continue to govern under this until we have our conversations and create additions or modifications and all that, that we're gonna, with this new president, vice president, we're gonna continue operating like this during this gap period. And that's exactly the way they express it in the law.
Why has there never been one of these before?
One of what?
When you sent me a rule of all the regulations, or the resolutions, excuse me, and this is a new resolution,
Because you have to
26-3.
make a resolution to do it.
Why hasn't there been one before? Because he's
This
been
is-
president for so long? or-
Exactly. This is
been a long
only, Darcy, this is only our second election in district history.
Really?
Really.
Point in case that we need definition of when
And
elections
you know
are
why
held.
that is though? Why we've only had 2 elections?
No.
Because nobody's ever wanted to be on the board. So there's things
This is only
that
your
stir,
second election in history.
because nobody wanted, so what you
So
do.
when you're talking about election, you mean president election?
No, I'm talking about,
For me.
in that when you have an election and you have new board members come in, the rule,
Okay.
the law says then that you need to, that new group of people needs to go and adopt a new president or a president, vote who's gonna be president, who's gonna be vice president, and then you should vote in a resolution to fill that gap in governance until you either want to, because sometimes you get a new president, vice president, just like what's happening now, you might want to change some governing rules and some laws.
So when was, prior to Tim and I, when was the last elected board member?
I think it was
I was.
Mark and,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kat, or
No, Kathy. was
Mark
one.
and Jim,
Mark and
What
Jim.
year was that?
22?
What,
2
To
years ago.
preface, to answer the question that's coming, we didn't do this last time because we didn't know that it was a thing. It was our first selection. That's the answer to the question.
Yep.
because that's my
But-
question, because
but
you got by last time without doing it.
We didn't know it
I
was
think,
a,
well, does that mean it's the law? Is that
No,
right?
it doesn't mean
So-
it's the law, but
So then
it's,
what are you insinuating?
I was trying to clarify my confusion and ask it, I understand now.
So what I'm wondering is what is, if, based on how I've explained it, we've talked through that now, what do you feel is a problem with covering a gap until you guys sit down and discuss
I
it?
didn't say there was, I'm sorry if I,
Okay. Well, if
Right.
not,
I think she's just kind of,
yeah,
just misunderstanding.
I misunderstood for a minute what election we were talking about. I was confused, I apologize.
Okay.
I was trying to understand, I'm still very new. And I was surprised to see it on the agenda, but now that you've explained it, there is a reason for it. So there is no issue. I apologize for my confusion.
well, I apologize for my.
Here's the resolution the council for us recommended. Next time would be resolution 26-3, continuing district existing rules and regulations under ordinance number 11-2. This resolution does not make any changes to the district rules and regulations. It simply confirms that the existing ordinance will remain in effect following the board's organizational meeting as contemplated by Montana law. This action ensures continuity of the district's governance and satisfies the organizational requirements of Montana Code annotated 7-13-2271. At this time, I will entertain a motion to adopt resolution 26-3.
Public comment yet,
There is public comment. You're right.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So I'm not familiar with the law that you're referencing. I'd like to see that law. I think each board member should have it in front of them. But regardless, you could also amend this resolution to say that this is a temporary resolution and that the board supports and affirms the need to look at your board, your bylaws. I do not think that the current ordinance represents what are legally considered bylaws by local government. And so I think it's really important if you move forward with this that you amend it to affirm the board's commitment to put in place workshops and process to adopt what the local government commission is already put out there are proper bylaws for a water district. So I would oppose this and think that I don't see the law on this. And you know that this is also an issue that is of contention in the appeal that we are filing that would force this board to go through training. So I think it's very appropriate for you to amend this resolution and to affirm your commitment to adopt bylaws that are compliant with the those suggested by the local government commission and specific to the needs of this board.
Thank you. Any other public comments?
Do you mind if I read this resolution? It should be read anyway, to the
There's
board.
one more comment. Yeah, okay.
Because nobody's come. So this resolution to continue ordinance 11-2, the rules and regulations of the Lakeside County Water and Sewer, which is what we're operating under today. Lakeside County Water and Sewer District duly organized water and sewer district under the laws of the state of Montana pursuant to 7-13-2271. Number 2, MCA, the district board directors shall establish rules for its proceedings. That is the rule 713-2271-2. Whereas the district previously adopted ordinance 11-2 establishing the rules and regulations of the district, including the rules of governing the proceedings of the board of directors. And whereas following the regular election of the board, organization of the board, it is the board's intent to formally continue the existing rules and regulations without amendment, thereby ensuring continuity of governance and compliance with Montana law. And whereas the board has reviewed ordinance 11-2 and finds that it remains appropriate for the orderly administration of district business. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Directors of Lakeside Water and Sewer District as follows. Section 1, continuation of existing rules and regulations. The board hereby confirms and continues in full force and effect ordinance 11-2, a copy of the title page of which is attached herein as Exhibit A and incorporated herein by this reference, together with all provisions contained therein, as the official rules and regulations of the Lakeside Water and Sewer District until such time as the board may amend, repeal, or replace said ordinance by subsequent action. Continuity of governance, Section 2. The board finds that the continuation of ordinance 11-2 satisfies the requirements of 713-2271-2 of MCA, establishing rules for the proceedings of the board and ensuring continuity in the governance of the district. So it is talking about that you are gonna and can make new rules,
And
adopt,
amend it
when you feel like it, create a complete new one, whatever you wanna do, but we're still gonna go on governing on a daily basis between now and when you do that. So that's what this is talking about. So it goes in with what you're saying, Darcy, is that we're already doing it right now. This is just saying that we're gonna continue doing that until you guys meet, till you talk it through, until you figure something else out. That's really all this is about, and it's fulfilling 713-2271-2.
Well, what's the board's desire?
Right.
We're
Here.
moving to adopt it, or what are we waiting for?
So here's the
Adopted or rejected.
if you need this, the rule is right
I
here,
have
so.
it. I have it, thank you.
So this would be like hang and then vote.
I would move that we adopt this requirement with the understanding that we will, in the near future, have a workshop.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
All same side. Perfect.
One last
One last item. Oh, it's another one, Bruce. It's here, action, reaffirmation of regular board meeting schedule. I guess that's also something we that we have, or is that the next item is the board's consideration of its regular meeting schedule. Town law requires the board to establish a time and place of its regular meeting following the organizational meeting. Staff recommends continuing the district's regular board meetings on the third Tuesday of each month at 2 p.m. at the district's office unless otherwise noticed. And then the question would be, open to the public first. If there's any public comments on that, and then we'll talk about it as a board.
Yes, again, Mary Flowers, Citizens for Better Flathead. We believe that this meeting time has been an issue for a lot of times. Meeting like today, which has a lot of items of interest to the public that can't come in the middle of the day. We strongly urge you to table this and to, as you do your workshop on your board bylaws to consider changing your meeting to an evening meeting. Some districts have it first thing in the morning. That's hard for a lot of people to get there before work. I think Evergreen does that at like some ungodly hour, 7:30 or something like that.
Perfect.
But I would suggest that because as a board, you're going through a lot of significant issues for this district, that now is the time to change it, to put it into the evening, and to also make a clear decision that you're going to put on your website when your board meetings are. You're still not doing that. It's still very difficult for ratepayers to know when you're meeting. When they hear that you're meeting at 2 o'clock, it's like, oh my God, I can't do that. So I would hope that you table this, and with your workshop that you've just committed to, bring it up during that and look at the possibility to move it to an evening meeting.
Thank you very much.
Again,
Any other public comment? Thank you.
Again, I'd like to just say that this is a reaffirmation. We are going to do that until you were change it at some other point through your meetings. You're entertaining, but we still have to plan for a meeting next month, even if you don't do that. So.
Right.
So this is, again, just like the other one, it's affirming that that's what we're meeting and what we do, and it solves the gap. So we can plan for next month, and if you guys choose through a workshop between now and then, or do you want to change that between now and then? But I'm just throwing that out there, you can still do whatever you want to do.
I would like to make public comment if I could.
Okay.
I agree with just throwing it out there that you guys would possibly consider an evening meeting. I've had a lot of, talking to people in the community, a lot of ratepayers have expressed to me how difficult it is to be involved because of the time of the meetings. And, when you've had them later in larger facilities, later in the day, a lot more people show up. It's easier to work around with jobs and things, so, and childcare, getting kids after school and all of that. So I would also ask you to consider it.
Have we always had them in the afternoon?
Just about. Actually, I remember, I was at one point in the old building. Yeah.
How long ago was that?
Well,
No, it was 20 years
I'm not
ago.
gonna say my,
What was the building?
no, that
Oh,
the
that
building
one.
here, before we had this building.
Well,
We met over there.
Yeah,
Whole
But there's
room.
no reason why we couldn't consider that.
you can consider anything.
No,
But
yeah. We can talk about it.
And I would like to talk about it.
I do.
And it's funny, you guys bring it up, because when I was on city, we were like the cities are the only ones that hold stuff in the evenings. But the county, nothing, nowhere in the county is in the evening. And we used to get upset about it because we're like, we can't, a lot of us had jobs, so we couldn't go attend the county meetings to talk about things with the city that were important. And so, yeah, I think it's a conversation that's well worth having. There's things that would have to change. Do you have meeting space available? Rodney's time, Rebecca's time, you guys would have to be available in the evenings, and so there's those working elements to
That
it,
makes sense.
but it's a conversation worth having, and for those of us who work jobs,
All of them.
Yeah.
Kathy.
You have the hardest job of all, what do you mean?
Right. That's something that I would be at work still, and you too, you have a job too, so you might let us focus one over here, some things like that. And participation, you might have increased participation, you might not. Anyway, conversation, I guess because I'm president, I can bring that up now.
My feeling on this is that we should have our meetings during the normal working day, because the most important people that are going to have input for what's happening in the past, in the future, in the present, is Rodney and Rebecca. And I don't think it's good for us to expect them to take 4 hours, 3 hours in some occasions at night. Rebecca has to transport herself at home, which is quite a ways, and, you know, I think that should be the consideration. And I think everything is going to be in the website, and I think we're becoming much more open with the public in general, and I don't think it will be a difficult sharing process as it has been in the recent past. That's just my opinion.
No,
Agree 100%.
And I'll agree 100% that it's good for y'all to talk about it. But I will
yeah, that's right.
I will throw in one caveat to that, just because friend Jennifer brought it up. And that's the after hours, and the people can't make it to the meetings and they want to do the after hour meeting. A lot of you haven't been here in the beginning of this project since 2021.
Right.
In all the public meetings that we did and advertised, and sent out flyers.
All those billboards, we had it all over.
All these things, we've done them at the fire hall, we've done them at the QR.
In the evening.
In the evening, all in the evenings, right? We just did one.
We just did one.
We just.
Last week,
We
I believe
just,
it was.
we just
Yeah.
did one, and and both of you were there. How many people were there? Right?
When I was at Mary was there.
Well, those are the people that are there.
Or was it like 10,
So,
20?
and there's nothing wrong with that, they have every right to be there. But we have done everything possible to get our ratepayers to show up. And the
I hear
ratepayers
you.
do not show up.
Yeah.
Out of all
In the
those people
past.
you've seen, no, in future, right now, today, we just did. Yeah.
Well, some do, yeah, I mean, you can't say nobody shows up, but
That's,
Well, let's talk about it in the meeting.
I'm
Yeah,
just saying,
let's-
it's great to talk about it.
Yeah.
I don't have no problem talking about it. I'm just telling you,
Yeah.
that evening, just because it's an evening meeting, don't mean it's an opportunity for people to come. Yeah, I will say that. They can't come, but we've tried to get them out, and they don't come, so.
There's others that won't come in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I say let's reaffirm it and have
Yeah.
that
you
conversation.
know, I think with the communication that we're getting now,
Yeah.
I think we're gonna find out that we have more in common than we have not in common.
Yeah.
You know, this is our lake too, this
Yeah.
is our home too.
Yeah,
True.
This, we have to pay our bills too, and you know, we have a lot more in common.
yeah.
So,
So it is, it's talking about it. I think it's great. I think all those things are great.
So I make a motion to reaffirm the board's consideration that for the regular meeting for next Tuesday, or next month, third Tuesday at 2 p.m. Sorry. Losing my point.
Did you say Tuesday?
Third Tuesday.
Oh, Tuesday. Third, I might too.
My swinglies.
and if the oncoming and the outgoing president wanna have a working meeting, please give us at least 2 weeks' notice, or a week's notice, so,
Okay.
because I have a very busy schedule, you understand.
I made a motion, and do we have a second?
I second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. General manager, do you want any additional time, or staff, Rebecca?
I don't have anything.
No?
Do we have to sign anything
Yes.
today?
Paperwork, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
The meeting's adjourned.
next meeting will be August 18th